Capcom's Onimusha series is a unique fusion of survival horror and fast-paced samurai action, a franchise that carved its own path in gaming history. What started as an ambitious attempt to bring Resident Evil-style tension to feudal Japan quickly evolved into one of Capcom's most cinematic and action-packed sagas. With its gripping blend of historical fiction, supernatural horror, and intense swordplay, Onimusha remains one of the most unforgettable franchises of the PS2. And with Onimusha Way of the Sword recently announced and set to come out in 2026, I thought now would be a fantastic time to revisit the series, going over all 4 titles in the main series, and the 2 spin-off titles, one being an arcade fighter, and a Game Boy Advance tactics-based game. But Onimusha is more than just stylish swordplay and Genma slaying. It's a series steeped in rich lore, unforgettable characters, and some of the most immersive depictions of Sengoku-era Japan ever put into a video game. From the claustrophobic corridors of Inabayama Castle to the time-traveling chaos of Demon Siege, Onimusha constantly reinvented itself while staying true to its roots. For this video, I wanted to provide a recap for every Onimusha game in this series, for longtime fans needing a refresher, or newcomers wanting to catch up without having to play through every game. I will be covering all major plot points, game mechanics, and more. There is a lot of real Japanese historical people, locations, and battles throughout the series. When they appear in the game, I'm going to overlay an image of the real historical person or location, and also provide 3 facts about them. The year is 1560. Feudal Japan is a land ravaged by war, where powerful warlords clash for dominance. Among them, the ruthless daimyo Nobunaga Oda seeks to unify the land by any means necessary. But what if his ambitions weren't just driven by mortal greed? What if something far more sinister was pulling the strings? This is the world of Onimusha Warlords, a tale of samurai, Oni and Genma, of honor and horror, where the fate of Japan rests in the hands of one lone warrior, Samanosuke Akechi. Released in 2001 for the PlayStation 2, Onimusha Warlords was originally conceived as a Resident Evil-style game set in feudal Japan, blending cinematic storytelling, survival horror elements, and intense swordplay. What started as a simple concept soon evolved into something much greater, a franchise that would go on to sell millions and leave a lasting impact on action games to come. Much like its survival horror roots, Onimusha isn't just about combat, it's about atmosphere. Every shadowed hallway, every flickering torch, every distant echo of something moving in the darkness. It all builds a feeling of unease, making the player feel isolated in a world where danger lurks around every corner. But Samanosuke isn't alone. Alongside him is Kaede, a fierce kunoichi who aids him on his quest to rescue Princess Yuki from the demonic forces that now infest Inabayama Castle. Together, they face the horrors within, uncovering a dark conspiracy involving the Genma, demonic beings who seek to use Nobunaga as their vessel to rule over mankind. Samanosuke receives a distress letter from Princess Yuki, pleading for help as strange occurrences plague Inabayama Castle. Yuki, a kind-hearted noblewoman, has noticed people disappearing and fears something unnatural is at play. Arriving at the castle, Sam and Kaede are met with a guard explaining if Princess Yuki is at the keep, there are 2 ways to get there. Sam and Kaede decide to split up. We immediately encounter the Genma holding Princess Yuki captive. After a quick fight, the Genma retreat. Sam ensures Yuki is okay, only to be met with Osric, a powerful Genma, kidnapping Yuki and smacking Sam with his club. I was never sure if Sam is meant to just be unconscious here or if he's actually dead. Just when it seems Sam is outmatched, he is saved by a mysterious force, the Oni, an ancient clan dedicated to fighting the Genma. They bestow upon him the Oni Gauntlet, a mystical artifact that allows him to absorb the souls of the fallen enemies. This mechanic is the backbone of Onimusha's progression system. Defeating enemies isn't just about survival, it's about collecting their souls to upgrade weapons, restore health, and replenish magic. This creates an interesting risk-reward dynamic in combat. Do you rush to absorb souls mid-battle, leaving yourself vulnerable, or do you play it safe and absorb them after securing the area? As Sam begins his journey towards the castle, he quickly finds himself confronted by the Genma. After each victorious encounter, he harnesses the power of his mystical gauntlet to absorb the souls of the fallen Genma, so that he can later use them to enhance his abilities. As we progress along the path, we are introduced to a variety of items that will become essential throughout the game. Among these are healing items such as herbs, which restore a small amount of health, and later on in the game we find medicine, which provides a much larger health recovery. Scattered throughout the environment, we also find notes and books that expand on the lore of the Oni and the Genma, offering deeper insight into the ongoing conflict between these forces. Additionally, we come across our first magic jewel, and later on in the game we will come across power jewels, which allow us to increase our maximum magic and maximum health, making them a crucial item for survival as the game progresses. We also encounter our first trick box. Marking the introduction of the game's recurring puzzle system, there are two main types of puzzle boxes. One requires us to rearrange numbers into the correct numerical order to unlock it, while the other presents a more intricate challenge, requiring us to decipher a code using codex documents found throughout the game. This often leads to some degree of backtracking, as we must return to previously encountered boxes once we've acquired the necessary codex to decode the correct sequence. However, the most significant item we come across at this stage is the Thunder Orb, which grants us access to the Ryzen, a sword imbued with powerful lightning-based attacks. This weapon is not only vital for combat, but also plays a crucial role in progressing through the game, as certain doors are locked behind elemental seals that require specific orbs to open. Throughout the game, we'll also discover other orbs, such as the Fire Orb and the Wind Orb, each unlocking a new elemental weapon while also serving as keys to their respective elemental locks. Upgrading becomes a key strategic element, as both weapons and orbs can be enhanced separately. Strengthening a weapon like the Ryzen increases its effectiveness against enemies, while upgrading the elemental orbs themselves is necessary to unlock higher tiered doors that require a specific orb level to pass. The number of orbs displayed on the door indicate the level an orb must reach before it can be opened, forcing players to carefully decide which upgrades to prioritize based on their current needs. The system not only adds depth to the gameplay, but also encourages exploration and resource management, ensuring that every upgrade decision has a meaningful impact on both combat and progression. Shortly after stepping foot inside the castle, Sam finds himself in a courtyard where a lone guard is desperately fending off multiple Genma. If the player acts quickly and eliminates the attacking creatures before they can finish him off, the guard will reward Sam with a useful item. This small but engaging moment reinforces the importance of swift combat execution and situational awareness. This is reoccurring throughout the game. There will be random soldiers that we can save to then obtain useful items. Sam progresses through a large hole in the wall, descending into the castle's moat, where he encounters Osric for the second time. Unlike their first meeting, this time Sam must engage in full battle. This fight serves as an early skill check, demanding that the player master key combat fundamentals, knowing when to block, when to strike, and when to strategically unleash magical attacks. The enemies in Onimusha Warlords, especially the bosses, hit hard, and failing to adapt to their attack patterns can quickly lead to defeat. Overcoming Osric is both a test of skill and introduction to the game's punishing but rewarding combat system.
Be quiet, monster. It is time for you to go back to the...
After the battle with Osric, we are introduced to a reoccurring character in the Onimusha series, Guildenstern. It is here that we learn a crucial piece of the game's narrative. Guildenstern was responsible for resurrecting Nobunaga, the warlord who was seemingly slain by an arrow to the neck in the game's opening cinematic. However, death was only the beginning for him. Upon his resurrection, Nobunaga formed a pact with the Genma, pledging eternal loyalty to their cause, setting the stage for the larger conflict that unfolds throughout the series. As Guildenstern departs, he leaves behind one of his grotesque creations, Ronaldo, to attack Sam. This moment also serves as a great opportunity to discuss Onimusha Warlords' voice acting. While the Japanese dub effectively conveys the dark and serious tone of the game, the English dub is far less successful in this regard. A prime example of this is Guildenstern himself. His Japanese voice actor delivers a performance that makes him sound menacing and monstrous, fitting his role as a twisted Genma scientist. However, in the English version, his voice is high-pitched and almost comically exaggerated.
With the demons, and pledged his eternal loyalty to serve us forever as our slave.
No!
Oh, yes, it is indeed.
Making him sound more like a cartoon villain than a genuinely intimidating presence. This tonal shift undercuts his character, making scenes feel unintentionally humorous rather than sinister. After obtaining the Fire Orb from Guildenstern's lab, we now have the means to progress deeper into the castle, only to discover that the stronghold itself has been completely overrun by the Genma. As we continue forward, we come across a tense scene. A mysterious man attempting to take hold of a young child. Before he can succeed, the child bites his hand and quickly escapes. It is here that we learn the identity of this man, Tokichiro Kinoshita, a loyal servant of the Oda clan. However, the game does something unexpected. It briefly breaks the fourth wall, addressing the player directly rather than Sam. In a foreboding message, it reveals that this man will one day rise to power and conquer the world under a new name, Hideyoshi Toyotomi. This moment adds an interesting historical layer to the game, foreshadowing the real-life rise of Toyotomi Hideyoshi, one of Japan's most significant historical figures. In the next room, we finally catch up to the young boy and reunited with Kaede. We learn that the child's name is Yomimaru. When Sam and Kaede attempt to question him about the man who was pursuing him, Yomimaru refuses to answer, instead choosing to run off once again, disappearing deep into the castle. Determined to protect him, Kaede immediately gives chase, while Sam continues his primary mission, to locate and rescue Princess Yuki. Sam can now delve deeper into the castle's labyrinth corridors, scouring rooms for valuable items and encountering additional trick boxes. I took this time to farm Genma souls, which are essential for upgrading weapons and elemental orbs. As Sam advances through the castle, he reunites with Kaede, who shares newfound information about Yomimaru. She reveals that he is the son of a farmer, whose parents were killed in the war, 4 years prior. Princess Yuki discovered him and has since raised him as her own brother. During their conversation, a trap is sprung, ensnaring both Sam and Kaede. This scenario introduces a unique gameplay mechanic, allowing players to switch perspectives between the two characters. They must collaborate to pull levers in a specific sequence to lift the barriers that have entrapped them. In this room, there's also an optional chest that, if accessed by deciphering the correct lever sequence, rewards Sam with the Holy Armor. The Holy Armor is a set of gold-colored plated armor created by the Oni. It helps to prevent Gyaorins from stealing soul energy. The subsequent chambers continue to challenge players with environmental puzzles. While engaging, it raises questions about its practicality within the castle's design. In one room, Sam must use his fire-imbued sword to light candles to unlock a door. Following this, they encounter a room filled with random trapdoors marked with X and plus symbols. The symbols indicate which floors will collapse into spike traps based on Sam's position, requiring careful navigation to avoid a deadly fall. After navigating these hazards, Sam and Kaede are separated once more. During this separation, players take control of Kaede, as Sam becomes trapped in a chamber rapidly filling with water. Kaede must solve a sliding puzzle, arranging pieces to complete a floral image within a time limit, to prevent Sam from drowning. This time challenge adds urgency and tests the player's problem-solving skills under pressure. Upon overcoming these trials, the duo reunites, and control shifts back to Sam. Kaede says that she is going to go search for clues, and they split up once more. Sam eventually enters a room where a Genma troop is holding Yomimaru captive. The captors escape with Yomimaru, and Tokichiro enters the scene. Through their exchange, it's revealed that Nobunaga and the Oda clan are preparing for a dark ceremony, intending to fill Princess Yuki's skull with her own blood. By consuming this, Lord Nobunaga believes victory over the Saito clan will be assured. Tokichiro then makes his escape. Pursuing further, Sam ascends to the rooftop, leading to the second major boss encounter, Marcellus, a formidable Genma wielding a sword and shield. Upon defeating him, Marcellus plummets from the roof and Sam acquires the Wind Orb. This grants access to a new weapon and the ability to unlock doors with the green orbs. Utilizing the Wind Orb, Sam unlocks a previously inaccessible door and discovers an unconscious Yomimaru. He and Kaede transport Yomimaru to a safe room within the castle. During their respite, it's revealed that Princess Yuki, born to a feudal lord, was raised for an arranged marriage. A woman named Nui then stumbles into the room. Seeking help, she serves Princess Hatsu and informs them that Yuki is being held underground. Sam entrusts Kaede with the care of Nui and Yomimaru, then embarks on a journey beneath the castle to rescue Yuki. Sam makes his way into the underground depths of the castle. However, upon reaching the staircase leading downward, he encounters a pedestal adorned with 3 elemental orbs, green, red, and blue. This serves as a gameplay mechanic, preventing players from progressing too early, ensuring they have acquired all 3 elemental weapons before advancing. It's a subtle but effective way of gating progression, reinforcing the importance of upgrading Sam's arsenal before facing the challenges below. As he explores, he soon encounters a mysterious door, guarded by lingering spirits that prevent access, with no way to bypass them yet. He makes a mental note to return later, continuing deeper into the basement. The change in atmosphere is immediately apparent. Unlike the upper floors of the castle, which while ominous, still maintained a traditional feudal aesthetic, the underground area feels far more sinister. The walls are splattered with gore, and some sections appear unnervingly organic, as though the castle itself is alive. This grotesque, almost otherworldly shift in design adds to the unsettling tone of the game, making it clear that Sam is now venturing deep into Genma territory. Sam stumbles upon the Rosary of Communication, a mystical necklace that grants him the ability to communicate with spirits. This marks a turning point in exploration, as it allows him to interact with the restless souls scattered throughout the castle. Pressing forward, he enters a long, dimly lit chamber where eerie blue flames flicker along the walls. At the far end of the room, a lone chest sits, seemingly waiting to be opened. Upon opening the chest, Sam obtains the Purity Bell, but in true Onimusha fashion, this victory is short-lived. A trap is sprung, and massive blades begin to swing back and forth across the room. Sam must carefully navigate through them, timing his movements precisely to avoid being struck. This sequence adds an extra layer of tension, reinforcing the game's commitment to environmental hazards alongside its combat challenges. The visuals and atmosphere of this basement are some of my favorites in the game. While pre-rendered backgrounds have aged and may not be as widely used in modern gaming, they bring a distinct charm and artistic direction that I wish more games would embrace today. Finally, he reaches the last room of the basement, where he once again encounters Tokichiro. In a brief but intense confrontation, Tokichiro activates a strange device in the room, unleashing a powerful energy beam from a pillar at the far end. As he attacks, he taunts Sam, smugly remarking that Kaede is likely in trouble by now. The game then abruptly cuts away from Sam's perspective, transitioning back to the room where Kaede, Yamamaru, and Nue were seeking refuge. Here, the scene takes an unexpected turn. What appears to be Sam suddenly enters the room and launches an attack on Kaede. At the same time, Nue is revealed to be an enemy, betraying the group. The unsettling nature of the scene leaves players questioning what is real and what is deception. Cutting back to Sam, he is suddenly enveloped by a mysterious light from the floor, descending into the unknown. At this moment, control shifts to Kaede, allowing players to navigate the castle from her perspective, engaging in combat and uncovering the unfolding mysteries in Sam's absence. With Kaede now in possession of the Red Key and access to her shinobi kit, she is able to pick locks, granting her entry to previously inaccessible areas. This gameplay shift provides a welcome change of pace, encouraging exploration from a different perspective. However, Kaede's limitations quickly become apparent. Unlike Sam, she is significantly weaker in combat, and more notably, she lacks the ability to absorb Genma souls. This removes much of the incentive to engage enemies, as there is no tangible reward for defeating them. As a result, encounters with Genma often feel like obstacles to avoid, rather than battles to embrace. As Kaede navigates her portion of the castle, she encounters her own set of trick boxes and environmental hazards. One particular section stood out to me as especially frustrating, a room with jets of fire shooting across the floor, requiring her to pull a chain to open a door. However, due to the game's fixed camera angles and pre-rendered backgrounds, it was difficult to discern exactly where the chain was hanging. I repeatedly attempted to pull it from the middle of the room, only to eventually realize it was tucked away in a corner. Moments like these highlight one of the challenges of fixed camera angles. While they enhance the cinematic feel, they can sometimes obscure interactive elements, leading to unnecessary trial and error. Despite these obstacles, Kaede presses on and discovers a passage leading beneath the castle. There, she finds Princess Yuki trapped in a cell. As Kaede attempts to pick the lock, she is suddenly interrupted. Emerging from the shadows is Guildenstern, once again standing in their way. Without hesitation, he seizes Princess Yuki and vanishes, leaving Kaede to deal with a new enemy type, one with the ability to turn invisible. This encounter is a tense moment, forcing players to track the enemy's movements carefully despite its ability to disappear from sight. Upon defeating the creature, control shifts back to Sam, who regains consciousness in an underground cavern. As he makes his way out, he comes face to face with a sinister doppelganger, the same shadow copy of himself that was seen earlier attacking Kaede. This fight serves as a cinematic moment, pitting Sam against a twisted reflection of himself. Once victorious, he emerges from the underground and returns to the castle, where he is now free to explore the areas that Kaede previously unlocked. At this point, one of the game's most significant optional challenges becomes available, the Demon Realm. This grueling trial is entirely optional, but offers an incredibly rewarding payoff. Functioning as a survival gauntlet, the Demon Realm consists of 20 progressively difficult floors, each filled with increasingly dangerous waves of Genma. The deeper Sam descends, the more challenging the battles become, making it an excellent way to farm souls. However, the real incentive of enduring the brutal challenge lies at the end. Upon completing the 20th floor, Sam is rewarded with a key item that will later grant him access to the most powerful weapon in the game. The optional mode serves as both a test of skill and a means of gaining an advantage before the game's final stretch. For players looking to maximize Sam's strength, the Demon Realm is an essential undertaking. After further exploration, Sam finally acquires a key that opens a door he has passed multiple times throughout the game. Upon unlocking it, the game transitions into a major pre-rendered cutscene. As Sam enters the room, he sees Nui holding an unconscious Yumimaru in her arms. However, in a shocking twist, she suddenly drops the boy and undergoes a monstrous transformation, revealing herself as Hecuba, a massive wasp-like Genma. At the same moment, a massive gate erupts from the ground, shooting up through the entire castle, its towering structure visible from the outside. Before Sam and Kaede can react, Hecuba escapes with Yumimaru, leaving them stranded in the room. Now faced with a mystical force field, the two notice an eye-shaped stone embedded in the middle of the barrier, preventing access to the newly revealed giant door. Realizing they must find a way to destroy the stone and break the seal, Sam and Kaede decide to split up and search for a solution. Sam heads outside, where he immediately encounters a terrified soldier being attacked by a giant ant-like Genma. Pressing forward into the newly accessible area the Genma forced open, Sam finds journal number 6, which provides insight into how to open the mysterious gate. With his next objective clear, Sam ventures deeper in search of the necessary equipment. Along the way, he comes across another trick box, which contains a new set of armor. Shortly after, he reaches a boat that allows him to travel across the body of water to a building on the opposite shore. Upon entering the structure, Sam discovers the Great Bow, an essential component needed to unlock the sealed gate. However, as soon as he retrieves it, more ant-like Genma emerge from the water and begin advancing toward him. At this moment, the perspective shifts back to Kaede, who is navigating her own path through the castle. She arrives at the boathouse as well, where she uses her shinobi kit to unlock a door that Sam was previously unable to access. Following this newly revealed route, she finds the Great Arrow, the final key to opening the massive gate. She then locates another boat and uses it to reach the same building where Sam is currently fighting off Genma. Just as Kaede arrives, Hecuba makes her dramatic return, setting the stage for the next major boss fight. This battle pits Sam against the monstrous wasp. After a tense battle, Sam finally defeats Hecuba, but as she dies, an explosion is triggered, destroying the building and severely injuring Kaede in the process. Recognizing her condition, Sam carries Kaede to a safe room, ensuring she is out of harm's way, before returning to the massive gate. Now equipped with both the great bow and arrow, he fires the legendary weapon, shattering the barrier and gaining access to the ominous door. Upon entering the sealed gate, Sam is immediately confronted by Guildenstern, the twisted Genma scientist. Unwilling to fight Sam himself, he instead unleashes an enhanced version of Marcellus, a much stronger iteration of the knight-like Genma Sam had fought earlier. This second boss fight is significantly more difficult, with Marcellus wielding upgraded attacks, stronger defenses, and deadlier combos. However, after an intense battle, Sam emerges victorious, paving the way for the final stretch of the game. Before proceeding further, Sam comes across an optional locked door, one that only opens if Sam possesses the Bishamon Ocarina. He can use it to unlock the legendary Bishamon sword, the most powerful weapon in the game. This demonic blade has unlimited magical energy, allowing for devastating attacks without needing to recharge, making it an invaluable tool for the final battle. Sam finally reaches the heart of the Genma stronghold. Inside, he finds Princess Yuki and Yumimaru ensnared by grotesque organic tendrils, suspended against the wall. Before he can react, a sinister voice echoes through the chamber. I am Fortinbras. The scene transitions into a pre-rendered cutscene showcasing the arrival of Fortinbras, a massive serpentine Genma overlord. Moving with terrifying speed, the demonic entity slithers through a long corridor, looming over Sam as he declares his dark intentions. He calls upon Nobunaga, commanding him to drink Princess Yuki's blood to complete a dark ritual that will guarantee the Oda clan's victory. This marks the final boss fight of the game. Fortinbras is a brutal opponent, unleashing powerful magic attacks and devastating melee strikes. For those who obtain the Bishamon sword, the battle becomes significantly easier as the weapon's unlimited magic energy allows Sam to unleash relentless attacks. After a fierce battle, Sam ultimately defeats Fortinbras, but just as Kaede, Yuki, and Yumimaru attempt to escape, the monstrous Genma suddenly revives. In a horrifying moment, Fortinbras grabs Sam, crushing him in his massive hand, seemingly killing him. As Sam's lifeless body hangs in the air, his blood drips onto the Oni gauntlet, triggering a dramatic transformation. The true power of the Oni awakens, and Sam ascends to his ultimate form, the Onimusha. In a spectacular cinematic sequence, Sam's newly awakened Onimusha form easily overwhelms Fortinbras. With an unstoppable display of power, he obliterates the Genma overlord. Sam wakes up back in his human form, with Nobunaga ominously standing over him, and then the game seemingly ends. As the dust settles, the game transitions into its final narration, revealing the fates of the major characters. Princess Yuki leaves to see the world with Yumimaru accompanying her. The Oda clan, now led by Nobunaga, returns to the castle and conquers it, defeating the Saito family. Kaede, devastated by Sam's disappearance, spends years searching for him before ultimately perishing in battle 14 years later. As for Samanosuke, his fate remains unknown, his disappearance left behind only questions, setting the stage for future Onimusha games. The game concludes in true Capcom fashion, displaying end-game stats such as total playtime, number of souls absorbed, and so on. While this was the end of Onimusha Warlords, this was just the beginning of the series. Warlords was a massive success, blending samurai action, survival horror, and rich historical fantasy into something truly unique. With its gripping atmosphere, tense combat, and unforgettable final battle, it's no surprise that Capcom had more stories to tell in this universe. And that's where we pick up with Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny. This sequel expands the world, introduces a new hero, and raises the stakes in ways that go far beyond what the first game established. Bigger battles, deeper mechanics, and a new approach to storytelling. It's time to dive into the next chapter of the Onimusha saga. After the events of Onimusha Warlords, the war between humans and the Genma rages on. The fall of Fortinbras may have been a victory, but the demonic forces are far from defeated. Released in 2002, Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny builds upon the foundation of its predecessor, introducing a new protagonist, a more intricate storyline, and deeper RPG elements. While still a survival horror-inspired action game, Onimusha 2 expands the scope with branching character interactions, a more detailed world, and improved combat mechanics. This game shifts away from Samanosuke's journey and instead focuses on Jubei, a lone warrior seeking vengeance for his fallen village. But unlike Samanosuke, Jubei's journey is filled with choices that affect his relationships with allies, his path through the game, and ultimately his fate. Let's dive into the tale of Jubei Yagyu and the battle against the Genma. We begin Samurai's destiny in the year 1573, over a decade after the events of Onimusha Warlords. The era of the warring states continues, and the land is drenched in blood. But in the shadows, a darker force stirs, one that threatens to consume all of Japan. The Genma have returned and have attacked Yagyu village. The once thriving home of the Yagyu clan is now reduced to ash as the demonic armies lay waste to everything in its path. Among the casualties, the clan leader, a man Jubei once called father. Our new protagonist, Jubei Yagyu, is a wandering swordsman, skilled in combat but unaware of the true war being waged between humans and demons. But fate has a cruel way of revealing the truth. Upon his return, he is met with a sight no warrior could ever prepare for. His home destroyed, his people slaughtered, and at the heart of this massacre, the Oda clan. Nobunaga Oda, the warlord who made a pact with the Genma, is no longer just a man. He has become something far worse, a ruler of both humans and demons. His conquest has begun, and the Yagyu clan was simply the next step in his grand vision. But Jubei is no ordinary man. His journey will take him beyond simple revenge, uncovering the truth of his own bloodline and a destiny greater than he could ever imagine. After defeating the Genma that attacked him, Jubei embarks on a quest to uncover the perpetrators behind his village's destruction. As he traverses the path, battling more enemies, he hears a mysterious voice calling his name and decides to follow it. Eventually, he arrives at a pond where he encounters Takajo, a woman with the lower body of a snake. Initially, Jubei suspects her involvement in the attack, but she reveals that Nobunaga Oda is the true mastermind. Takajo explains that Jubei possesses the innate ability to absorb souls, eliminating the need for an Oni gauntlet, as used by Samanosuke in the previous game. She further informs him about 5 sacred orbs: charity, faith, honesty, respect, and strength, created to protect humans from the demons, and emphasizes the necessity of gathering all the orbs to defeat Nobunaga. Takajo advises Jubei to visit the Dragon Shrine to obtain a hidden power and suggests beginning his quest at the gold mine in Imisho. She also gives us a document explaining the game's mechanics. Samurai's Destiny introduces several new features. Jubei can now transform into his Onimusha form during gameplay by absorbing 5 purple souls. This transformation grants increased power for a limited time. However, the transformation is automatic upon collecting the 5th soul, which I found limiting, which it does not allow for strategic activation. Additionally, the game introduces charged attacks. By holding the lock-on button, Jubei can charge his equipped magic weapon and unleash a powerful move. We can also find books throughout the game that provide unique attack combinations for the magic weapons when specific button sequences are input correctly. These enhancements add depth to the combat system, offering more strategic options during battles. After meeting Takajo, Jubei returns to the Dragon Shrine that was on the path and places his hand inside the statue, receiving his first magic weapon, a lightning-infused sword, reminiscent of the Thunder Sword from the first game. The game then gives us some insight to the area that we're going to next, explaining that in 1568, gold was discovered in the valley of Imisho, located between the Mino province of Oda and the North Omi province of Asai, and the Echizen province of Asakura. This discovery transformed a small village into a prosperous mining town, attracting adventurers and merchants driven by greed. The scene shifts to Jubei arriving in Imisho, where he witnessed people fighting over gold, highlighting the prevailing greed. He also notices a woman in armor wearing one of the 5 orbs as a necklace. This marks a significant change in the series, as players now explore a town free of enemies, interacting with NPCs. Jubei attempts to access the gold mine, but is stopped by a man who informs him that a permit is required. Returning to the village to obtain the permit, Jubei is attacked by some Genma. Upon defeating them, they drop varying amounts of gold, introducing a new currency system to the series. We return to the village, and Jubei meets Magoichi Saiga, the leader of the Saiga gun clan, and Ekei, a warrior monk. They begin to argue over a trivial matter, and Jubei intervenes to break up the fight. Here, the game introduces the gift exchange system, allowing players to give items to certain characters to build relationships and unlock various benefits such as items, and they will also assist you in fights throughout the game, giving the opportunity for side quests. After exchanging gifts, Jubei purchases the mine permit, enabling him to proceed with his quest. After obtaining the mining permit, Jubei makes his way back to the entrance of the gold mine. He presents the permit to the guard, who now allows him through. However, as he approaches, a group of miners frantically rushes out of the mine, screaming about monsters inside. They also mention that a woman in armor has ventured deeper into the tunnels, the same woman Jubei saw earlier wearing one of the sacred orbs. Upon entering the mine, Jubei encounters Ekai, who explains he was curious about what was inside the mine and wanted to check it out. As he ventures deeper, Jubei begins encountering trick boxes, much like in the first game. However, rather than using numerical puzzles, the trick boxes in Onimusha 2 require players to slide wooden pieces around to form a completed circular image. These puzzles can be challenging but often reward valuable items. As he progresses, Jubei faces one of my favorite Genma designs in the series, these humanoid crocodile-like creatures. Not long after, Jubei comes across an elemental barrier, similar to the ones that locked doors in Onimusha Warlords. However, unlike the first game where orbs had to be a certain level to unlock them, in Onimusha 2, simply possessing the corresponding weapon is enough to unlock it. Deeper in the mine, Jubei finds Ekai and Magoichi battling Genma together. He assists them in fending off the creatures before continuing on his way. Eventually, he stumbles upon another dragon shrine, similar to the one he encountered earlier. As before, Jubei places his hand inside the shrine's mouth, and it grants him a new elemental weapon, this time imbued with ice powers. Notably, this is the first time an ice element weapon has appeared in the series. On his way back to the ice-sealed barrier, Jubei once again encounters Ekai and Magoichi, who are arguing yet again. During this exchange, Ekai reveals his ambitions to become a feudal lord, even stating that he would be willing to join Nobunaga if it meant achieving his goal. This immediately raised red flags with me, and from this point on, I had reasons to be wary of Ekai's motivations. After breaking the ice barrier, Jubei faces off against the boss Gengenfatz, with Magoichi assisting during the battle. Onimusha 2 is known for being significantly more difficult than its predecessor, requiring the player to carefully manage their resources and combat strategy. The boss fights in particular are unforgiving, with Gengenfatz being a prime example of this challenge. Upon defeating Gengenfatz, Jubei finds an injured man lying on the ground. The man reveals that the Genma had enslaved miners, forcing them to work under horrific conditions, and that he is the only survivor. Jubei takes the man back to Imisho to recover, and once he regains some strength, the man shares crucial information. He believes the armored woman was taken into a deep pit within the mine called the Hole. He then hands Jubei the red ring, a key needed to access this location, stating that he had found it lying around. While in Imisho, Jubei also meets Kotaro Fuma, the leader of the Hojo clan's ninja faction. Kotaro warns Jubei to be cautious of the armored woman, suspecting that she may be an agent of the Oda clan. With the red ring in hand, Jubei returns to the mine and locates the hole. He uses the key to unlock the path and descends into its depths. Jubei then finds himself in the demon world. Upon further progression of the demon world, I found myself in a place that was eerily familiar. As we progress a little farther, it becomes clear that we have arrived at Inabayama Castle, the central location for the first game. While exploring the castle, Jubei once again encounters Magoichi. This time, Magoichi provides additional insight into Ekai's past. He reveals that Ekai was once a warrior serving a feudal lord who suffered a devastating defeat in battle. During this time, Ekai lost both his wife and daughter, which may explain his current obsession with gaining power and securing his own rule. This section of the game provides deeper character development, intertwining personal motivations with the overarching conflict against Nobunaga. It also effectively builds upon the lore established in the first game, with the return of Inabayama Castle being a particularly impactful moment for players familiar with Onimusha Warlords. As Jubei ventures deeper into the castle, he encounters a ghostly spirit lingering in one of the chambers. The spirit takes notice of Jubei's presence and remarks that he must be able to see him because they share a common grudge against Nobunaga. The spirit expresses a desire to aid Jubei, but is unable to do so, as he is trapped by the lingering evil energy emanating from the nearby well. To break this curse, Jubei must locate a Purify charm, which will dispel the dark energy and free the spirit, allowing them to assist one another. While searching the room, Jubei stumbles upon a book titled Demon's History, which expands upon the lore of the Genma and their origins. According to the text, the Demon Clan was formed in ancient times, with its ruler, Fortinbras, if you remember the final boss from Onimusha Warlords, emerging from the chaos of the universe itself. As the self-proclaimed king of demons, Fortinbras created the Genma, and with them, humans, not as equals, but as mere livestock, meant to serve as food for the demon race. Over time, an uneasy arrangement formed between the demons and humans. The demons provided science and advanced technology, which granted humans knowledge beyond their natural means, and in exchange, humans offered sacrifices to the demons. However, not everyone accepted this twisted bargain. In Zinpangu, ancient Japan, a powerful clan of Oni existed even before humans came into being. This Oni clan rejected the rule of the demons, leading to an intense and prolonged conflict between the two races. In the end, the Oni were nearly annihilated, their presence fading into legend. However, the book hints at a lingering hope. The Oni were said to have created magical weapons capable of destroying demons, and these weapons remain hidden within a dragon in Zipangu. This passage adds significant world building to the series, establishing a deeper history between the Oni, humans, and Genma. Continuing his search, Jubei encounters more Genma prowling the castle halls. As he engages in combat, Ekai suddenly joins the fight. Helping to dispatch the creatures after the battle, they make a shocking discovery: a kidnapped baby lying helplessly in the room. At the sound of the baby's cries, Ekai is visibly shaken, triggering a painful flashback to the fall of his former lord's castle. He recounts how, on the night of the siege, he heard his own daughter crying just like this. Despite his desperate efforts to save her, he was ultimately powerless against the chaos of the battle. He had once promised his daughter that when she grew up, he would become a feudal lord and make her a princess. But with her tragic death, that dream was shattered, leaving him with nothing but ambition and regret. This moment provides a deeper look into Ekai's character, revealing that his desire to become a lord is not just about power, but also about fulfilling a promise to his lost child. Further inside the castle, Jubei encounters his first math-based puzzle. The objective is straightforward. A target number is displayed at the top, and the player must align numbers in all directions so their sum matches the given total. While I appreciate the presence of puzzles in Onimusha, I've always found them somewhat out of place within the series. Unlike Resident Evil, where most puzzles feel organically integrated into the environment, such as security mechanisms, old locks, or scientific riddles, the puzzles in Onimusha feel randomly placed, without much narrative justification. Why would a mathematical puzzle exist in this castle? It doesn't serve any logical purpose other than to stall the player momentarily. After solving the puzzle, Jubei is rewarded with the right side of the bronze mask, one of the two halves needed to unlock a door he previously passed. With this new key in hand, he backtracks and opens the door, only to come face to face with the mysterious armored woman from Onimusha. Standing across from her is an unidentified man, who sternly warns her that the fate of the Odani castle has already been sealed, and that he cannot allow her to leave this castle alive. After this dialogue, we encounter a few more Genma. After cutting through the Genma, Jubei enters the next room, only to find himself in a massive chamber filled with lava, setting the stage for his second major boss fight in the game. This is where Jubei encounters Gogondantis, a towering and flamboyant warrior who proudly proclaims himself to be the greatest swordsman of all demons. Gogondantis immediately stands out as one of the most difficult bosses in the game. Unlike the last boss that relies on brute force, Gogondantis is impossible to hit. Every attack thrown at him is flawlessly countered or deflected, making traditional combat strategies completely ineffective. This fight is not about winning, but surviving. The trick is to dodge his attacks and stay alive long enough until the game triggers a cutscene, ending the battle. This design choice is brilliant, as it immediately establishes Gogondantis as a powerful adversary, one who cannot be bested through sheer strength alone. After a grueling battle, the armored woman lowers a rope ladder, providing Jubei an escape route. As he climbs to safety, Gogondantis does not pursue him. Instead, he simply watches, taunting Jubei as he walks away, completely unfazed by the fight. This encounter makes it clear this will not be the last time Jubei crosses blades with Gogondantis, and each encounter will only become more challenging. I really feel like the difficulty curve of the game becomes especially apparent here, with Gogondantis serving as a huge difficulty spike that forces players to abandon brute force tactics in favor of patience and strategy. After emerging from the underground area, Jubei finds himself in a familiar courtyard within the castle. As Jubei explores the courtyard, he comes across the armored woman. Beside her stands a massive metallic sphere. As they approach, the orb on the woman's necklace begins to emit a bright glow. Intrigued, Jubei asks for it. She hands it over, and we find out that it is called the Faith Orb, one of the 5 sacred orbs which is integral to Jubei's quest. Jubei notices a slot on the metallic sphere that appears to be a perfect fit for the Faith Orb. Upon placing the orb inside, the sphere suddenly levitates, crackling with electricity as it undergoes a dramatic transformation. Before Jubei's eyes, the sphere morphs into a mechanical horse, a strikingly futuristic element within the otherwise historical setting of feudal Japan. This moment serves as a turning point in the game's atmosphere. Up until now, supernatural forces have been present in the form of demons, but the world itself remained relatively grounded in Japanese history. The introduction of this robotic horse, referred to as the Iron Horse, shifts the narrative into something more fantastical, reinforcing Onimusha's unique blend of history and science fiction. Jubei and the armored woman mount the mechanical steed and ride back to Imisho. Once they arrive, Jubei questions her about the origin of the Faith Orb. She explains that it has been a treasured heirloom in her family for generations. In gratitude for saving her life, she allows Jubei to keep it. At this moment, she introduces herself as Oyu from Odani. We then learn that she is part of the Asai clan, a powerful family that is currently under siege by Nobunaga. Oyu reveals that she traveled to the castle in an attempt to assassinate Nobunaga, but was ultimately captured before she could carry out her plan. This revelation further cements the growing tension between Jubei and Nobunaga's forces. Players regain control of Jubei and have the freedom to explore the town once more. Up to this point, Onimusha 2 has featured a unique gift-giving system, allowing players to build relationships with various allies by offering them items. Strengthening these relationships affects the story and determines which allies assist Jubei later in the game. However, at this stage, we are unknowingly approaching a point of no return. If we do not take the time to engage with the gift-giving system before advancing the main story from here, we will permanently lose access to it. This is where the game falters in terms of guidance, in my opinion. There's no warning indicating that progressing further will lock players out of this feature, potentially cutting off valuable side quests, character interactions, and just simply getting help with boss fights, because they're very tough. As Jubei makes his way through the market, he encounters a mysterious female Genma. She boldly declares no one will stand in Lord Nobunaga's way, and ominously states that both Jubei and Takajo must die. As this discussion unfolds, she flashes what seems to be a purse, but Jubei notices on the purse is another one of the orbs that we are looking for. Before Jubei can react, she escapes, announcing her intention to travel to Yagyu village to kill Takajo. Realizing the danger, Jubei immediately sets off in pursuit. This marks the moment when the game locks players out of the gift system, permanently, shifting the focus back to the main story. Jubei arrives in Yagyu village, but he is too late. He witnesses the Genma woman kill Takajo. As Takajo dies, Jubei speaks with Oyu, who followed us, revealing information that we learned previously from the Demon's History book, further expanding on the mythology of the Oni bloodline and the ongoing war against the Genma. As she fades away, she leaves behind the Ring of Takajo, a key item that will aid Jubei in his journey. Determined to continue his quest, Jubei returns to his childhood home in Yagyu village. Using the Ring of Takajo, he activates a hidden mechanism within a large wooden device, revealing a secret passage beneath the floor. This underground path is littered with traps, requiring players to carefully navigate its dangers. Upon emerging from the passage, Jubei finds himself on a cliffside path. Reaching the end of the cliffside path, he finds another dragon statue, which again he puts his hand inside, granting us another weapon. Similar to the staff in the first game, this one is also imbued with a wind element. Using our new wind-based powers, we backtrack to a previous path that was locked by another elemental lock. This is where we begin to collect small Nobunaga statues, which will play an important role later in the game. As he continues his journey, Jubei enters a dense fog-covered forest, where the path repeatedly splits. This area introduces a puzzle mechanic. A flying Genma must be hunted down and killed in order to break the looping effect of the forest. If the player fails to defeat these creatures before they escape, they will be trapped in an endless loop, forced to navigate through repeating screens until they successfully eliminate their targets. At the end of the foggy forest, Jubei again encounters the Genma lady, where we learn her name is Juju Dorma. And we also have our second boss encounter with Gingham Fats. In this battle, Gingham Fats uses the forest to his advantage, darting between trees and launching surprise attacks. Players must utilize hit-and-run tactics to counter his relentless assault. After a fierce fight, Jubei emerges victorious, and Gingham Fats drops another Nobunaga statue. Having finally escaped the looping forest section, Jubei continues his exploration. Making his way through the dense wilderness, he pushes forward. He discovers yet another Nobunaga statue. This brings his total to 3. These statues serve as the key to unlocking a sealed door deeper within the forest that has been blocking Jubei's path forward. The puzzle itself is fairly straightforward. A nearby engraved stone screen flashes an image of the 3 statues arranged in a specific order. The objective is simple: replicate the correct placement of the statues to open the door. Beyond the sealed door, Jubei steps into what appears to be a natural cave. However, as he ventures further in, this is not just an ordinary cave. It is a lair, and a powerful enemy awaits within it. As Jubei moves through the eerie, dimly lit passageways, the game builds tension leading up to an encounter with Juju Dorma, one of the more menacing Genma bosses in Onimusha 2. She is a high-ranking sorceress in Nobunaga's army. This fight is one of the more frustrating boss battles in the game, largely due to Juju Dorma's aggressive attack patterns and magical abilities. Unlike previous encounters where enemies rely more on brute strength, Juju Dorma's attacks are heavily ranged and spell-based, making it difficult for Jubei to land consistent hits without taking serious damage in return. She frequently teleports around the arena, making it difficult to track her movement. She fires large energy blasts, which must be carefully dodged or blocked. The fight is particularly rough because by this point in the game, players may have already used up a lot of their healing items. If they entered the battle unprepared, it becomes an uphill struggle to survive. After multiple attempts, I finally defeat Jujudorma. Upon her demise, she drops the Honesty Orb, another one of the 5 sacred orbs required for Jubei's quest. With her defeat, a new passage opens within the lair, leading Jubei into a long cave hallway. However, as soon as he steps through the door, the entrance slams shut behind him, sealing him inside. Suddenly, the entire cave begins filling with deadly poisonous gas. This moment is especially brutal, as players may have very few healing items left after the boss fight, making it a race against time to escape before succumbing to the toxic fumes. Jubei rushes forward, narrowly making his way to the cave's exit, where he finds himself standing on the edge of a cliff. Jubei jumps off, plunging into the ocean below. As Jubei swims deeper into the ocean, he discovers a hidden underwater cave. In the hidden cave, there is an odd golden object floating in the water. Similar to the metallic sphere that transformed into a horse, this golden structure has a slot, one that perfectly fits the Honesty Orb. Without hesitation, Jubei inserts the orb, triggering another transformation. Before his eyes, the object morphs into a large mechanical fish, once again emphasizing the technological mysticism that Onimusha 2 blends into the feudal Japanese setting. Jubei rides the mechanical fish across the ocean, eventually reaching a secluded beach. As Jubei steps onto the sand, he hears something rapidly approaching from the ocean. A towering figure emerges. Gogen Dantos, the self-proclaimed great swordsman of all demons. This fight comes immediately after the grueling battle with Jujudorma, leaving players at a severe disadvantage. Health items are likely depleted, and Jubei is probably not at full health. Unlike the first battle, where survival was the key objective, this time Jubei must actually damage Gogen Dantos a set number of times to progress. Gogen Dantos counters nearly everything, forcing you to carefully time your attacks, and the fight is longer and more difficult. To end the battle, Jubei must land around 30 hits. For me, this fight was a brick wall. It is an immense test of patience and precision, requiring you to master the game's combat mechanics without relying on healing items. It took me days to finally defeat him. After landing the required number of hits on Gogen Dantos, the battle finally comes to an end. However, before Jubei can even react, Gogen Dantos lands a swift and precise strike, injuring him. Just when things are looking grim, Ouya arrives on the scene once again, stepping in to rescue Jubei for the second time. Amused by the situation, Gogen Dantos smirks and taunts Jubei. With a condescending tone, he mocks him, saying how shameful it is that he has now been saved twice by the same woman. But despite his arrogance, Gogen Dantos is an honorable swordsman. He recognizes that Jubei is not yet strong enough for a fair fight, and instead of finishing him off, he postpones their duel. As he turns to leave, he delivers a crucial piece of information. Nobunaga's army is currently attacking Odani Castle. With those final words, Gogen Dantos vanishes, leaving Jubei wounded and Ouya concerned. Ouya kneels beside Jubei, tending to his injuries. She insists that he should stay behind and rest while she explores the island. There is something she must do before Odani Castle falls, and she does not have time to wait. At this point, control shifts to Ouyu, giving the player a fresh perspective and allowing them to experience her combat style. As Ouyu ventures through the large doors built into the cliffside, she is met by the spirit of Takajo. The spectral figure urgently requests that Ouyu locate the sacred flute. Takajo explains that with this flute, Jubei may finally have a fighting chance against Gogen Dantos. To aid in this mission, she bestows upon Ouyu the red bracelet, a powerful item that grants her the ability to absorb the souls of defeated Genma. This is a notable gameplay addition, as it marks a significant improvement over the first Onimusha. In Warlords, when players controlled Kaede, she was unable to absorb souls, making combat encounters feel somewhat pointless outside of mandatory fights. However, Ouyu can collect souls, just like Jubei, ensuring that battling Genma remains engaging. Though she cannot use these souls to enhance her weapons or abilities, she can later transfer them to Jubei, making every enemy encounter worthwhile. As she continues her journey, Ouyu stumbles upon a broken down lift and a nearby document titled Lift Instructions. The document explains that the lift is currently inoperable, subtly hinting at a future puzzle that Jubei will need to solve upon his return. For now, the lift remains unusable, so Ouyu presses forward. Eventually, she discovers a portal leading into the demon realm. Without hesitation, she steps inside and begins descending a massive spiral structure that eerily resembles a colossal spine. At the bottom of this ominous tower, Ouyu finds herself inside a frozen cavern. She is ambushed by a horde of powerful Genma. Among them are massive axe-wielding brutes reminiscent of the enemies encountered in Warlords. These foes are relentless, demanding careful movement and precise attacks. After a hard battle, Ouyu emerges victorious and finally obtains the sacred flute, the item that Tokujo had requested. With the artifact in hand, Ouyu makes her way back to the beach where she left Jubei. Upon arriving, she immediately hands him the sacred flute, knowing that it will be vital in his upcoming battles. Additionally, she transfers all of the souls that she absorbed during her journey, giving Jubei a much-needed power boost before the next chapter of his quest. Now with the sacred flute in his possession and his strength restored, Jubei is finally prepared for what lies ahead. With control shifting back to Jubei, we now retrace the steps that Ouyu previously explored. However, since Jubei possesses unique abilities that OU does not, he can access previously blocked areas. He can interact with the lift we encountered earlier, but before he can advance too far, he comes across another dragon shrine, one that OU had passed but was unable to activate. Like before, Jubei places his hand inside the shrine, unlocking yet another mystical weapon. This time, he obtains a massive hammer infused with the power of Earth. Unlike the quick, fluid strikes of his sword-based weapons, this hammer is a slow but devastatingly powerful tool, capable of breaking through enemy defenses with sheer force. With this new weapon in hand, Jubei proceeds deeper into the area. Jubei eventually reaches the lift, which, as previously hinted, was inoperable when OU encountered it. Utilizing his wind-based magic, he activates the mechanism and descends, arriving at an unexpected location, a mechanical factory. This industrial aesthetic is a stark contrast to the feudal Japanese setting we've been accustomed to, further emphasizing the unnatural and twisted influence of the Genma. As he explores this eerie metallic facility, Jubei stumbles upon a letter of particular interest. This letter is written by none other than Guildenstern, the deranged Genma scientist from Onimusha Warlords. His absence from the main events of Onimusha 2 has been somewhat puzzling up to this point, but here we get a small yet intriguing reference to his continued existence. In this letter, Guildenstern addresses Nobunaga, seeking approval for a golden evil statue that he has designed. He boasts about his brilliance, going so far as to claim that even Fortinbras, the Genma overlord from the first game, would have never conceived such a grand idea. While this letter doesn't have any immediate gameplay implications, it subtly foreshadows the final boss encounter, planting seeds of curiosity for what's to come. For fans of the first game, it's also a nice nod to Guildenstern's twisted genius and his ongoing role with the Genma hierarchy. In the same room, Jubei encounters another number-based puzzle, similar in design to one he faced earlier in the game. However, this time, the challenge is significantly more difficult. The core mechanic remains the same, arranging numbers in a way that they align with the target number in every direction. While some players may find these mathematical puzzles frustrating, they serve as a brief but engaging mental challenge amidst all the combat-heavy sequences. Upon successfully solving the puzzle, Jubei is rewarded with the golden key. This key allows him to stop the moving crates within the production facility, creating a makeshift bridge that he can use to jump across and access a new door. This small environmental puzzle adds an additional layer of interactivity into the factory section. In the next room, Jubei is met with yet another puzzle, this one being more fitting for the setting. Instead of numbers, the challenge involves aligning tabs to mirror the shapes displayed above them. While simple in execution, it adds a cryptic ancient feel that complements the supernatural elements of the game's world. Once solved, a portal opens, transporting Jubei back to a familiar location, Inabayama Castle. This time, however, we find ourselves in a previously inaccessible section of the castle, one that is near the site of the Hekiba boss fight from the first game. This moment serves as a great piece of environmental storytelling, subtly connecting Onimusha 2 back to the events of its predecessor. As Jubei explores the castle, he stumbles upon an ominous portal, one that leads to another familiar location, the Demon Realm. Players of the first game will immediately recognize this as the challenge area where Samanosuke faced a gauntlet of increasingly difficult battles in exchange for powerful rewards. The mechanics remain unchanged. Jubei must fight his way through multiple floors, with each level escalating in difficulty. Surviving this brutal challenge is no easy feat, but those who persevere are granted the Purple Necklace, an incredibly useful accessory that reduces the amount of magic energy consumed when using special attacks. This is especially valuable for players who rely on elemental weapons and magic-infused strikes. At this point, in Onimusha 2, we see a mechanic that has been peppered throughout the series so far, but hasn't been prominent. A mechanic that's reminiscent of Resident Evil. Keys with distinct symbols that correspond to specific locked doors. For example, Jubei acquires the Cherry Key, which can be used to unlock a door marked with the cherry symbol. However, unlike Resident Evil, where doors are visibly marked with these symbols, Onimusha 2 requires players to manually check locked doors until they find the correct match. For those with strong memory skills, this isn't a major issue, but for others, it can be a bit frustrating. In my case, I was able to recall where the door was located from an earlier visit to the castle, but having a small visual cue on the doors themselves would have been a welcome quality of life addition. Upon unlocking the Cherry Room, Jubei discovers another key, the Crescent Key, continuing this chain of key-based progression. However, this room also contains something far more disturbing. Inside the room, Jubei finds what appears to be a human cookbook. Yes, an actual guide detailing the best methods of preserving and preparing human flesh as food. This unsettling discovery reinforces just how grotesque and sadistic the Genma truly are. While Onimusha 2 does not shy away from horror elements, moments like this serve as a stark reminder that the Genma are more than just an invading force. They are predators, treating humanity as little more than cattle. This dark revelation adds an extra layer of motivation for Jubei's quest, further fueling his desire to bring down Nobunaga and his monstrous army. With the Crescent Key in hand, Jubei backtracks, searching for the corresponding locked door. With newly accessible areas now open, Jubei stumbles upon another portal, transporting him into a vast and eerie cave system. This cave is unsettling, lined with human figures frozen in place, turned into stone. At first glance, it appears as though these people were victims of some horrific fate, their bodies permanently petrified as if caught mid-action. As Jubei ventures deeper, he locates a bridge that can be lowered by activating a nearby lever. Progressing further, he comes across an old document that sheds light on the tragic fate of the petrified people. The document reveals that Guildenstern, the twisted scientist from the first game, has developed a terrifying new weapon, a petrification bullet. This cursed ammunition instantly turns anyone struck by it into stone, leaving them trapped in an eternal lifeless state. However, the document also details a countermeasure, an antidote known as the Great Powder, capable of reversing the effects of petrification. Determined to free these helpless victims, Jubei continues his search through the cave and eventually locates the Great Powder. With this powerful remedy in his possession, he is able to move through the cave, restoring each petrified individual to their original human form. This moment is particularly rewarding as it reinforces Jubei's role as a hero, not just battling the demonic Genma, but actively saving lives along the way. After successfully rescuing the victims, Jubei makes his way back to the castle. Continuing his journey, he discovers a boat docked by the water, taking the boat across to a new location. He arrives at a mysterious and imposing building. Inside the new area, Jubei stumbles upon another ancient book that once again references the golden statue, an ominous artifact that has been vaguely alluded to multiple times throughout his journey. This particular book provides key insight into why Nobunaga desires the statue so much. It explains that the statue is constructed from an unimaginable amount of gold, approximately 6,000 tons of it. However, its importance extends beyond mere material wealth. Unlike Fortinbras, who sought to dominate humanity through sheer brute force and fear, Nobunaga has adopted a far more cunning and strategic approach. The text details that Nobunaga understands that ruling through worship and devotion is far more effective than using intimidation alone. The golden evil statue is meant to serve as an object of reverence, something that will solidify his divine status in the eyes of the people, allowing him to rule with both fear and admiration. This revelation adds another layer of depth to Nobunaga's character, emphasizing his intelligence and manipulation rather than just raw power. Moving forward, Jubei encounters another puzzle, like before, shifting a series of stone slabs to match the symbols displayed above them. After solving the puzzle, another portal activates, transporting Jubei back to the Demon Island, the same place where we previously acquired the Oni Hammer and where OU had ventured earlier. This time, Jubei is able to access a previously sealed-off section of the island. Opening a once inaccessible door, he steps inside and is immediately met with an intense confrontation. OU and Tokichiro are already inside, locked in a heated exchange. Tokichiro tries to convince OU that she should abandon Jubei's cause and allow him to protect her instead. He claims that if she continues to defy their Lord Nobunaga, she will be in grave danger. Before the confrontation can escalate further, Tokichiro springs a trap, activating a mechanism that opens a trapdoor beneath Jubei and OU, sending them plummeting into the depths below. As they recover from the fall, a shocking revelation comes to light. OU is not who she claimed to be. Her real name is Oichi, and she is none other than the wife of the Lord of Odani Castle, and even more shockingly, the sister of Nobunaga himself. This revelation recontextualizes much of what we've seen so far, adding emotional weight to OU's internal struggles. She reveals that after marrying the Lord of Odani Castle, she discovered that he had 3 children from a previous marriage. Feeling betrayed and isolated, she was further devastated when she learned that her own brother, Nobunaga, was plotting to bring ruin upon the Asai clan. This led her to take matters into her own hands, planning to confront and possibly even kill her own brother in an attempt to prevent the destruction of her new family's lineage. Before there's time to process this revelation, Tokichiro detonates an explosion, blowing open a hole in the wall. As the dust settles, another explosion occurs, knocking Oichi off balance. She slips into a crack in the floor, about to fall into an abyss, when suddenly a familiar figure bursts into the scene. Gogen Dantas makes a dramatic entrance, leaping into the chaos and catching Oichi before she plummets into the depths. This moment is completely unexpected. It's clear that despite being an enemy, Gogen Dantas possesses his own sense of honor and duty. However, he is not here for pleasantries. Time has come for his third and final duel with Jubei. Unlike their previous encounters, this time Jubei holds a decisive advantage. He now possesses the Sacred Flute, an item specifically designed to weaken Gogen Dantas. As the fight commences, playing the flute momentarily stuns him, creating a brief opening when Jubei can finally land powerful blows. While the battle is still a challenge, it is no longer the near impossible struggle it once was. With patience and skill, Jubei delivers the final strike, besting the self-proclaimed greatest swordsman of all demons. As Gogen Dantas falls, he does not lash out in anger or despair. Instead, he smiles, recognizing the strength that Jubei has achieved. With his final breaths, he acknowledges Jubei's growth and asks for one last thing. He wants Jubei to tell him his name. Jubei, honoring his fallen adversary, speaks clearly. Gogen Dantas, the greatest swordsman of all demons. Hearing these words, Gogen Dantas smiles one final time, thanking Jubei before succumbing to his wounds. As he fades, Jubei obtains the Respect Orb, fittingly named as Gogen Dantas was an enemy that, despite his difficulty, was one that earned the admiration of players. Gogan stands out as one of the best characters in Onimusha 2. Despite his frustratingly difficult fights, his unwavering sense of honor and his dedication to fair combat made him incredibly likable. His arc as an antagonist was never about malice. He simply sought a worthy opponent, and in the end, he found one in Jubei. After the intense battle with Gogan Jubei finds himself navigating through an industrial complex engulfed in flames, the aftermath of the recent explosions. Retracing his steps, he returns to the previously visited chamber on the Demon Island, where a colossal statue stands with an indentation. Recognizing the fit, Jubei inserts the newly acquired Respect Orb into the slot. This action triggers the emergence of a massive turtle-shaped airship from the ground, accompanied by a horde of Genma warriors who immediately launch an assault on Jubei and Oyu. Atop this formidable vessel stands Tokichiro, who smugly informs them that the Oda clan's forces are on their way to Odani Castle, sealing its inevitable downfall. With a menacing crash, Tokichiro pilots the airship through the fortress walls, steering it out over the vast ocean. An ominous alarm resonates, signaling an impending explosion. In a desperate bid for survival, Jubei and Oyu collaborate to lift a heavy door blocking their escape route. This sequence introduces a unique gameplay mechanic. The player must synchronize the rotation of both analog sticks, ensuring the door rises evenly. Any imbalance causes the door to jam, necessitating careful coordination to realign and proceed. Once they successfully elevate the door, an air glider descends, offering a fleeting chance at escape. Seizing the opportunity, both protagonists board the glider and set off in pursuit of Tokichiro's airship. Upon boarding the enemy vessel, Jubei navigates its corridors, eventually confronting Tokichiro in the control room. During their confrontation, Tokichiro boasts of Lord Nobunaga's grand design to dominate the nation. In a sudden move, he hurls a sword at Jubei, who narrowly evades the attack. Taking advantage of the distraction, Tokichiro escapes through a hatch, deploying mechanical wings that allow him to soar to safety. As the airship approaches Odani Castle, the vast expanse below reveals an army poised for assault. Jubei takes command of the ship's artillery, launching explosive projectiles to disrupt the advancing forces. However, the airship sustains critical damage amidst the skirmish, culminating in a catastrophic crash into the castle's structure. In the chaos, Jubei manages to leap onto a nearby roof, attempting to rescue Oyu. Tragically, they did not act quick enough, where she plummets with the wreckage into the depths below. Within the castle's ominous halls, Jubei confronts the consequences of the game's intricate friendship and gifting system. Unbeknownst to many players, the relationships cultivated or neglected throughout the journey significantly influence characters' alliances and story progression. In this instance, due to insufficient rapport with Ekai, the warrior succumbs to his earlier temptations, betraying Jubei in a misguided quest for power under Nobunaga's banner. This betrayal forces a poignant duel between former allies. Upon his defeat, Ekai laments his choices, revealing a life devoid of true purpose, filled only with fleeting pleasures that ultimately left him empty. Pressing onward, Jubei encounters yet another portal, leading to the enigmatic demon realm. Navigating its treacherous tiers, he battles formidable adversaries, each level presenting escalating challenges. His perseverance is rewarded upon reaching the final tier, where he acquires the formidable Rekka-kin sword, a weapon of immense power that promises to aid him in the trials that lie ahead. After conquering the final floor of the Demon Realm, Jubei returns to the castle, now overshadowed by a grotesque tower asphyxiated to its uppermost level. Determined, he crosses the bridge leading into this ominous structure. Inside the first chamber, he discovers a non-functional elevator featuring a conspicuous indentation, seemingly designed to accommodate an orb. Noticing a ladder nearby, Jubei ascends, only to be confronted once more by the formidable Gingenfats, marking their third and final confrontation. This battle proves exceptionally challenging, as Jubei inflicts damage. Gingenfats undergoes a startling transformation, splitting into two distinct entities. His lower half aggressively rolls across the floor while his upper portion hovers menacingly. Wielding a massive hammer, it attempts to crush Jubei. Upon vanquishing both halves, Gingenfats plummets into a fiery abyss, leaving behind his hammer, which houses the coveted Strength Orb, the fifth and final orb in Jubei's quest. Descending the ladder, Jubei inserts the Strength Orb into the elevator's slot, reactivating its mechanisms. At this moment, Oyu enters, revealing her survival from the airship's catastrophic crash. Jubei, acknowledging that Oyu and Nobunaga are siblings, he urges her to withdraw, asserting that he must confront her brother alone. As they part ways, Jubei expresses his hope for her future happiness before stepping into the elevator, leaving Oyu behind in tears. Ascending to the pinnacle, Jubei confronts Nobunaga in the final showdown. Nobunaga declares that Jubei's efforts are in vain, having already transferred his essence into the colossal 6,000-ton golden evil statue, a manifestation of his ambition to dominate through deification rather than force. Undergoing a monstrous metamorphosis, Nobunaga initiates the first phase of their battle. In this initial stage, Nobunaga employs a series of attacks. He has sword strikes, swift and powerful slashes aimed directly at Jubei. He also has energy blasts, utilizing the different elements that we've acquired throughout the game, unleashing these malevolent waves of energy that require precise timing to evade. Upon depleting Nobunaga's health, the confrontation escalates as a fleshy substance engulfs Jubei, transporting him to an otherworldly realm. Here he faces the true final adversary, the golden evil statue, now animated and towering before him. Resolute, Jubei invokes the power of the 5 orbs, triggering a transformation to his ultimate Onimusha form. This metamorphosis shifts the gameplay perspective, positioning the camera directly behind Jubei as he confronts the statue. In this form, Jubei wields potent energy blasts to combat the statue. Through strategic evasion and relentless defense, Jubei ultimately dismantles the statue. As it collapses, Nobunaga's visage emerges within an ethereal eclipse, cursing Jubei and vowing eventual resurgence. The scene transitions back to the castle, depicting the disintegration of the Genma structure and Jubei's narrow escape, before abruptly cutting to the credits. After the credits, a sequence unfolds. Jubei stands atop a cliff, gazing toward a distant castle. Within its walls, Uyu, adorned in a traditional kimono, similarly looks out. Sensing Jubei's presence, despite the physical separation, the game concludes with the ominous echo of Nobunaga's laughter, hinting at unresolved conflicts and setting the stage for future confrontations. As we reflect on the intricate narrative and intense battles of Onimusha 2's Samurai's Destiny, it's evident that Jubei's journey is both a personal vendetta and a broader struggle against demonic forces threatening feudal Japan. The game's conclusion not only resolves immediate story arcs, but also lays the groundwork for subsequent adventures. Up next, we delve into Onimusha 3, Demon Siege. Rendered cinematic of Onimusha 3 is a stunning and action-packed sequence that immediately immerses the player in the game's high-stakes conflict. The ship, a fusion of demonic architecture and advanced, almost mechanical design, brims with an ominous energy as it carries out its sinister mission. Within its dark corridors and sprawling decks, hordes of monstrous Genma warriors stand in wait, guarding the vessel's secrets. Suddenly, the silence is shattered as Samanosuke Akechi, the legendary Oni warrior from Warlords, makes his return. With an unparalleled display of agility and combat skill, he cuts down Genma soldiers left and right. Every swing of his blade is precise and deadly, carving through the grotesque creatures that stand in his way. The choreography of the fight is breathtaking. Samanosuke slashes, parries, and counters with the grace of a seasoned warrior, effortlessly switching between weapons as he battles against a seemingly endless horde. Samanosuke advances through the airship, cutting through more enemies with relentless determination. Massive, heavily armored brutes attempt to overpower him. As Samanosuke fights his way through the ship's main chamber, the atmosphere grows even more foreboding. Awaiting him is Gargant. The tension is palpable as Samanosuke confronts him, their gaze locked in a silent fury. Without hesitation, the two engage in a ferocious duel. The sound of clashing steel echoes throughout the chamber as they exchange blows, each strike fueled with hatred and determination. Samanosuke, despite his skill, is momentarily overwhelmed by his immense strength. The Warlord's attack sends shockwaves through the air. During the battle, Samanosuke finds what appears to be a giant brain, confirming this ship is actually a creature. Upon destroying the brain, the ship begins to crash. Sam then leaps from the ship, using his Oni gauntlet to transform his weapon, using his air abilities to let him land safely. After the ship's destruction, Sam stands up and is faced still by Gargant. However, we see soul energy floating around the battlefield. Utilizing his Oni gauntlet, he absorbs all of the souls of the fallen Genma and transforms into the Onimusha. He effortlessly deflects Gargant's attack and in one swift motion strikes him down. However, Gargant begins to laugh, emanating from Gargant's wound a bright glow, as a massive explosion is triggered from his body. The scene cuts to Nobunaga, sensing the explosion, knowing it's Samanosuke. By the time Onimusha 3 Demon Siege was released in 2004, the series had already left a significant mark on the gaming landscape. Capcom had crafted a franchise that blended intense samurai combat with supernatural horror, set across the backdrop of Japan's Sengoku era. The first two games introduce us to the heroic struggles against the demonic Genma, with iconic protagonists like Samanosuke Akechi and Jubei Yagyu facing overwhelming odds. Both Onimusha 3, Capcom aimed to push the series further than ever before, both in terms of gameplay and narrative. For the first time, the series leaves behind pre-rendered backgrounds in favor of fully 3D environments, allowing for a more dynamic experience. Combat was refined, movement became more fluid, and the level of cinematic ambition skyrocketed. But perhaps the boldest decision of all was to introduce a second playable protagonist throughout the entirety of the game, a character unlike anything we had seen in the series. Enter Jacques Blanc, a modern-day Frenchman, played and motion captured by none other than Hollywood action star Jean Reno. This was Capcom at its most experimental, merging historical Japan with a futuristic demon invasion of Paris, creating one of the most unexpected yet intriguing crossovers in gaming history. Onimusha 3, Demon Siege, serves as both a thrilling conclusion to the storyline that began with Samanosuke Akechi and an ambitious reinvention of the series formula. It expands the lore, raises the stakes, and delivers some of the most intense action and boss battles in the franchise. But was this ambitious evolution a triumph, or did it stray too far from what made the series special? Following the initial invasion of Paris by the malevolent Genma forces, the narrative of Onimusha 3 transitions back to the historical setting of June 2nd, 1582, during the 10th year of the Tensho era in Kyoto, Japan. Here, the esteemed general Mitsuhide Akechi, uncle to the valiant Samanosuke Akechi, has rallied his loyal soldiers to mount a decisive assault against the oppressive warlord Nobunaga Oda. Amidst the assembled troops, Samanosuke stands resolute, adorned in battle-worn black armor, his golden Oni gauntlet gleaming, a testament to his unwavering commitment to vanquish the Genma scourge. Mitsuhide commends Samanosuke for his unwavering dedication and valor, acknowledging the arduous journey that he has led them to this pivotal moment. In a gesture of honor and readiness, a fellow soldier presents Sam with his iconic crimson armor, symbolizing his readiness to confront the impending darkness. With determination burning in their hearts, the forces commence their assault on Honnoji Temple, the stronghold of Nobunaga's nefarious operations. As Sam battles through the temple's fortified courtyards, he skillfully dispatches numerous Genma adversaries, each clash bringing him closer to his ultimate goal. His journey culminates in a tense confrontation with Nobunaga himself, who stands alongside a new and formidable ally, Ranmaru Mori, the head retainer of the Oda family. A fierce duel ensues between Sam and Ranmaru, showcasing a display of martial prowess. Upon Ranmaru's defeat, the confrontation escalates as Nobunaga personally engages Sam in combat. Just as it appears that Nobunaga is poised to deliver a fatal blow, an enigmatic dark vortex materializes beneath Sam, enveloping him in a swirling maelstrom reminiscent of the temporal displacement depicted in the Terminator films. This unforeseen event abruptly transports Sam through time and space. The scene then shifts back to contemporary Paris, where the French military strives to repel the relentless Genma invasion. As their defenses wave under the onslaught, a lone figure emerges to tip the scales. Jacques Blanc, a courageous French officer, dramatically enters the fray astride his motorcycle. This moment marks a significant departure from the traditional gameplay of the series, introducing players to a modern arsenal and fresh perspective. Assuming control of Jacques, players engage in intense combat against the Genma forces, utilizing firearms to devastating effects. After successfully neutralizing the immediate threat, Jacques turns his attention to his injured comrade, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to his fellow soldiers. In a nearby alleyway, a radiant light captures Jacques' attention. From this a luminous anomaly emerges Sam, now inexplicably present in the heart of Paris. Disoriented, Sam quickly realizes that his Oni gauntlet has become inert, its mystical energy seemingly nullified in this unfamiliar realm. Sensing imminent danger, Sam intervenes to save Jacques from an advancing Genma attacker. The two warriors, though united by circumstance, face a formidable barrier: language. Sam's Japanese and Jacques' French render direct communication impossible, adding a layer of complexity to their alliance. As Sam endeavors to comprehend the bewildering situation, the same mysterious vortex that transported him now engulfs Jacques and his injured companion, pulling them into the enigmatic depths. Left alone in this perplexing new world, Sam's confusion intensifies. His attention is drawn to an unfamiliar device, a cell phone, its purpose and function alien to him. Amidst this technological bewilderment, a familiar yet unsettling presence emerges from the shadows. Guildenstern, the malevolent Genma scientist previously encountered by Sam. Guildenstern's appearance in Paris raises profound question about the Genma's capabilities and their manipulation of time and space, setting the stage for a complex and enthralling narrative that intertwines the destinies of two warriors, separated by centuries but united in purpose. Sam descends into the subway tunnels beneath the streets of Paris. As he battles through the Genma, he eventually emerges at the iconic Arc de Triomphe. Upon arrival, Samanosuke notices a trio of torches. As he approaches, his Oni gauntlet emits a radiant glow, revealing a concealed passage beneath the monument. Venturing into this hidden chamber, he discovers an orb exuding a divine luminescence. This marks the acquisition of the game's first Oni weapon, the Tenso. These dual short swords, while not the most potent in raw power, grant Sam unparalleled speed in combat, allowing for swift and precise strikes. Emerging from the room, Samanosuke is confronted by a woman aiming a firearm at him. This woman is Michelle, a French military officer. Her astonishment of the sight of a samurai in modern-day Paris, coupled with the language barrier, leads to a tense standoff. Given Sam's sudden appearance coinciding with the Genma invasion, Michelle mistakenly perceives him as a foe. As her team breaches a door leading into the Ark, the air fills with gunfire and agonized screams. Realizing the true threat, Michelle lowers her weapon and rushes towards the commotion. Inside, she discovers her squad brutally slain, and is subsequently attacked by a Genma warrior, rendering her unconscious. Sam intervenes, defeating the monstrous assailant, and carries Michelle to safety outside the structure. Determined to confront the source of the chaos, he ascends to the pinnacle of the Ark. Along the way, he begins to encounter trick boxes that we've seen throughout the other games. Like Onimusha 2, these trick boxes require players to slide pieces around. However, instead of aligning them to form an image, we have to align pathways to allow the unbroken flow of energy. At the summit, Sam confronts the nefarious scientist, Guildenstern. With a sardonic greeting, Guildenstern remarks on the instability of the time fold, shedding light on the temporal anomalies enabling characters to traverse different areas. He reveals that Sam is now in Paris, approximately 500 years beyond his original timeline, and that the Genma are operating under new directives from the warlord Nobunaga Oda. To impede Sam's progress, Guildenstern unleashes one of his formidable creations, Brainstern, a colossal mech-like adversary. This battle underscores the game's challenging encounters demanding strategic prowess from players. Following Brainstern's defeat, the narrative shifts focus to Jacques and his comrade Philippe. They find themselves in a strange forest. Jacques urgently attends to Philippe, but tragically he succumbs to his wounds. Pressing onward, Jacques hears a distant scream and rushes to its source, discovering his son, Henri, under siege by a towering Genma. Despite emptying his firearm into the creature, the bullets prove ineffective against its armored hide. The beast retaliates, wounding Jacques. In this dire moment, his arm radiates with a mysterious glow, and he is bestowed with an Oni gauntlet and a whip-like weapon. Empowered by these new tools, Jacques vanquishes the Genma and races to Henri's side, only to watch in horror as his son vanishes from his grasp. Suddenly, Jacques is confronted by a luminous entity, an Oni chieftain, who communicates telepathically. The chieftain reveals that Jacques has been transported to Japan, 500 years in the past. When Jacques distressed inquiries about Henri's whereabouts, the chieftain explains that the encounter was a mere illusion, and assures him that Henri remains in his own time. He explains the nature of the Genma, the demonic forces plaguing both eras, and informs Jacques that in 10 days Samanosuke is destined to challenge Nobunaga on Honnoji Temple. This revelation places Jacques 10 days before Samanosuke's temporal displacement. The chieftain emphasizes that victory over Nobunaga is unattainable without the combined might of both warriors, as they have been chosen by the Oni clan for this monumental task. During this exchange, players are introduced to Akko, a Tengu spirit. Akko's presence enables Jacques to comprehend and communicate across language barriers, facilitating interactions in this foreign land. Unlike typical companion archetypes that may become intrusive, Akko offers invaluable assistance throughout the journey, enhancing gameplay without overwhelming the player. As Jacques delves deeper into the forest, he stumbles upon remnants of a charred village. Here, he encounters Samanosuke. However, this isn't the same Sam players met earlier. This version exists 10 days prior to his temporal journey to the future. This encounter introduces players to the intricate time travel paradoxes that permeate Onimusha 3 Demon Siege, adding depth and complexity to the unfolding narrative. Sam reveals they are currently on Mount Hiei, a location steeped in historical significance. 11 years prior, the infamous warlord Nobunaga set fire to a temple atop the mountain, an act that has since tainted the area with malevolent energy, transforming it into a breeding ground for Genma activity. Recognizing the peril and the necessity of their alliance, Jacques understands that vanquishing the Genma is imperative imperative not only for the salvation of the present, but also a means to return to his own time. With mutual respect, the two warriors formally introduce themselves and pledge to collaborate in their quest to defeat Nobunaga and his nefarious forces. As they proceed, players are introduced to Tengu chests, mystical containers scattered throughout the game world. Often positioned beyond the player's immediate reach, Akko, with her unique abilities, can access these chests, providing valuable items and enhancements that aid in their journey. This mechanic encourages exploration and strategic utilization of Akko's skills. Continuing his path, Jox encounters ethereal fireflies, a gameplay element distinct to his character. These luminescent creatures hover over chasms and beneath elevated platforms, serving as grapple points. By employing his whip, Jox can latch onto these fireflies, enabling him to traverse otherwise insurmountable gaps, or ascend to higher terrains. This feature not only enriches the gameplay experience, but also emphasizes Jox's adaptability and the innovative designs of the game's environments. Jox retraces his steps to a previously encountered device, inserting the bronze mirror he discovered along the cliffside. This action activates the mechanism, bestowing upon him a new weapon and unlocking his initial magical ability. Notably, Jox's arsenal is uniquely designed around whip-like weapons, setting him apart from other characters. His first magical weapon, the Ninja, is a segmented sword imbued with fire, functioning both as a sword and a whip. This design offers versatility in combat, allowing for both close-range slashes and extended-reach attacks. Equipped with the Ninja, Jox ventures deeper into the forest, eventually reuniting with Samanosuke at a formidable door. Here, they encounter their first Echo Spirit, a small stone, essential for upgrading Akko's vests. These vests grant Akko various abilities, enhancing gameplay dynamics. Collecting and utilizing Echo Spirits is crucial for maximizing Akko's support capabilities throughout the game. Proceeding further, Jox and Sam enters a building where they confront Ranmaru. This encounter leads to a battle against Marcellus, a boss previously faced twice in the original Onimusha Warlords. During this intense fight, players experience their first Onimusha transformation with Jox. This transformation mechanic has evolved since Onimusha 2. In the previous installment, absorbing 5 purple orbs triggered an automatic transformation. However, in Onimusha 3, players can strategically choose when to activate the transformation after collecting the required orbs, adding a layer of tactical depth to combat. Upon defeating Marcellus, Jox expresses his determination to survive and return home to his son, Henri. Akko, the helpful Tengu companion, offers to inform Henry of his father's safety, revealing her ability to traverse time effortlessly. This introduces a unique narrative element, as Akko can bridge the temporal gap between characters. The scene then transitions to Paris, where Michelle awakens to find Samanosuke standing before her. Startled, she instinctively draws her weapon. Akko appears, facilitating communication between Michelle and Sam by explaining the current situation. During their discussion, Michelle receives a distressing radio call from a soldier, reporting monstrous creatures in the drains and pleading for reinforcements. Control shifts back to Sam, now accompanied by Michelle, as they navigate the subterranean subway tunnels. Within these tunnels, they encounter formidable adversaries, notably giant slugs that upon defeat disperse into smaller, more troublesome creatures. These smaller slugs can latch onto the player, disrupting targeting systems and complicating combat engagements. During their exploration, they discover another Echo Spirit and acquire a new vest for Akko. Akko's vests scattered throughout the game bestow special abilities. For instance, the blue vest accelerates the absorption of enemy souls, while the red vest transforms all absorbed souls into red ones, facilitating quicker weapon and armor upgrades. However, using the red vest means foregoing the health and magic restoration provided by yellow and blue orbs. Each vest requires a specific number of Echo Spirits to activate, emphasizing the importance of collecting these items. As they delve deeper into the sewers, Sam and Michelle collaborate to push a large obstruction, clearing the path to reach endangered troops. Upon arrival, they find a surviving soldier. They provide him context for the dire situation, and he explains he's going to call for backup. Emerging to the surface, the cell phone previously acquired by Sam begins to ring. Unfamiliar with this device, he is puzzled, prompting Michelle to explain its function before answering the call. On the line is Henri, leading Sam and Michelle to Jacques' residence, where Henri awaits. Upon arrival, they inform Henri about his father's circumstances. Akko elaborates on the situation, fulfilling her promise to update Henri, before teleporting back to the past to reunite with Jacques. Back in the past, Akko briefs Jacques on the present-day events. During their conversation, Jacques notices a beeping sound and discovers a wristwatch from his era, indicating that other contemporary items have also been transported to ancient Japan. Samanosuke suggests that the item likely originated from Sakai City in the Senshu region, identified by the merchant stamp on the box containing the watch. Determined to investigate further, Jacques and Sam set out for Sakai City, splitting up to gather more information about the Genma's activities and the mysterious temporal anomalies. Upon arrival, Jacques seeks out the local merchant, suspecting a connection to the modern wristwatch he previously discovered. Presenting the watch, Jacques inquires about its origin, but the merchant, displaying evasive behavior and suspicious body language, denies any knowledge and hastily ejects Jacques from the premises. This interaction raises further doubts about the merchant's honesty. Continuing his exploration, Jacques encounters a child attempting to retrieve a glowing object from a pot. The child claims ownership of the item but offers to trade it for something sweet. Nearby, Jacques finds a watermelon vendor, who proposes an exchange. The watermelon for either money or a rare Western item. Jacques parts with the wristwatch to obtain the watermelon and returns to the child, who is delighted with the treat. This allows Jacques to take the item from the pot. As he reaches in, a firefly comes out, guiding Jacques to a concealed entrance atop the merchant's shop. Infiltrating the shop through the roof, Jacques overhears a clandestine conversation between the merchant and an associate. They discuss the imminent arrival of a Western ship and the necessity of greeting it, expressing concerns about potential Genma interference. The merchant scolds his partner and says to refrain from calling the Genma monsters, indicating a deeper involvement with these creatures. As they depart for the harbor, Jacques seizes the opportunity to search the shop, discovering the blacksmith key and exiting through the back door into an alley. Here he finds Akko's white vest, which once powered by 4 echo spirits, grants regenerative abilities when Jacques remains stationary. Traveling back to the main street, Jacques is confronted by Genma assaulting the town. As he fights through them, he finds the blacksmith and utilizes the key he found in the merchant's shop, where he acquires his second weapon, the Ryzen. This formidable lightning-infused spear maintains the segmented whip-like design characteristic of Jacques' arsenal. Within the workshop, Jacques makes his way towards the port, and while there he encounters a door sealed by elemental orbs, reminiscent of the barriers in the first Onimusha. Additionally, he uncovers a document authored by Guildenstern, shedding light on the Genma's experiments with time travel. The document reveals that within Oni ruins, there is a secret device, the operation of which eludes the Genma, yet they are resolute in mastering its secrets. Proceeding through the unlocked room, Jacques reunites with Samanosuke Akechi. They find themselves surrounded by modern items, such as televisions and refrigerators, further evidence of temporal anomalies. Determined to investigate the Western ship's arrival, they head towards the harbor. Akko informs them that boarding the ship could lead them to the Genma's hideout. At the dock, Jacques is astonished to find his motorcycle, another artifact displaced from the future. Their path is obstructed by Heihachiro Honda, a renowned spearman and vassal of Lord Tokugawa, who is allied with Nobunaga. Honda challenges them to a duel, but the confrontation is cut short as the ship begins to depart. Acknowledging their prowess, Honda withdraws, allowing Jacques and Samanosuke to refocus on their mission. Realizing the ship is their key to the Genma hideout, Jacques attempts to board his motorcycle but discovers the key is missing. In a swift decision, Akko teleports to the present, retrieves the key from Jacques' son Henri, and returns it to Jacques. With the motorcycle operational now, Jacques launches onto the departing vessel. Aboard the ship, Jacques battles through hordes of Genma. The vessel begins to submerge, plunging deep into the ocean. Akko explains that their destination is the Genma's underwater hideout. She then returns to the present to update Samanosuke and Michelle on Jacques' status. During this briefing, Samanosuke receives a phone call from Guildenstern, instructing him to proceed to the basement of the Notre Dame Cathedral. The narrative then transitions to Samanosuke standing before the iconic cathedral. As Sam enters Notre Dame and explores its halls, he acquires a green vest for Akko. This vest enables the absorption of souls from living enemies, though its practical application may vary depending on your playstyle. I personally did not find it very useful. Deeper exploration reveals statues shrouded in dark energy, and a concealed entrance leading to a subterranean passage, adorned with human remains. Here, Sam discovers the anti-dark charm, an artifact granting him the ability to absorb dark energies. Returning to the cathedral's main floor, Sam utilizes the charm to cleanse the statues of their dark aura. This process requires cleansing the statues in a specific sequence, indicated by the number of lit candles before each of them. An incorrect sequence results in a lightning strike which damages Sam. Successfully purifying all the statues causes a beastly statue to emit a radiant glow from its mouth. Upon examining, it bestows Sam with the Kuga, a sword imbued with light energy. Now armed with the Kuga, Sam descends back into the underground chambers, now capable of unlocking the door obstructed by the light barrier. In these depths, he confronts Guildenstern. He reveals his ambition to master time folds, aiming to summon Nobunaga into the present to annihilate humanity. He then activates a portal, vanishing and leaving Sam to face formidable adversaries. After overcoming these foes, Sam discovers another time lab document. This document details an inadvertent activation of an Oni device that propelled Guildenstern into the future, prompting him to establish a base within Notre Dame, due to the abundance of human remains, a resource for his nefarious experiments. Utilizing the same device, Sam transports himself into a new location, arriving at a docked vessel. Akko identifies this as the same ship Jacques boarded 5 centuries prior. This convergence introduces the time folder mechanic, allowing players to alternate between Seminosuke and Jacques, each operating in different eras but within the same environment. Actions performed by Jacques in the past can alter the present landscape for Sam, facilitating collaborative puzzle solving across time. Akko serves as a conduit, transferring items between the two timelines to aid in their quest. Transitioning to Jacques, he emerges from the submerged vessel, now identified as the Genma's hideout. The narrative emphasizes the peril of intertwining past and future, as such anomalies could destabilize reality. In the time folding chamber, Jacques finds that all doors are currently sealed. Akko returns to Sam's era, where he discovers a yellow disc corresponding to a door adorned with yellow flames. Sending this disc back through time, Jacques utilizes it to unlock the door, granting access to areas previously unreachable. Exploring further, Jacques encounters Ranmaru, who cryptically mentions Guildenstern's creation of the time folder before departing. Jacques then faces a mathematical puzzle requiring the alignment of slabs to form the correct equation. Solving this puzzle unveils a secret passage leading to an elemental barrier, which necessitates a specific weapon to dispel, which we have not acquired yet. Within this chamber, Jacques encounters a familiar entity, the Gatekeeper from the original Onimusha. If you remember, this character grants access to the Dark Realm, a challenging gauntlet where warriors battle through progressively difficult floors, testing their combat prowess and resilience. Jacques enters the Dark Realm, and this time the mechanics differ from previous titles. Instead of progressing linearly through increasingly difficult floors, players now face branching paths, offering varied challenges and rewards. Completing the Dark Realm with Jacques unlocks an Oni Orb. With this one, unlocks the Ryzen Sword from the first game in subsequent playthroughs. After further exploration, Jacques finds the missing piece to a mechanism. Once it's activated, this device lowers barriers over broken windows, preventing the room from flooding further. In Jacques' time, this room began flooding. It became fully submerged in the present, blocking Sam's path. By fixing the flooding issue, we can switch back to Sam and explore the same area 500 years later. In the location where Jacques previously encountered Ranmaru, Sam finds the blue disc, granting him access to another door in the Timefold room. After acquiring the disc, Sam confronts Guildenstern, who warns that Seminosuke has come too far and introduces a transformed Genma-empowered Ranmaru from the future. This version of Ranmaru is significantly stronger and can absorb souls during combat. Players must compete with him to collect these souls by quickly tapping the absorb button. If Ranmaru absorbs health orbs, he heals, prolonging the battle. Upon defeat, Ranmaru reveals his transformation is incomplete, indicating his body is still resisting the change. He retreats, vowing to spare Sam for now. Seminosuke then transfers the blue disc to Jacques. As Jacques proceeds through the newly unlocked door, he enters a striking hallway lined with windows, offering views of aquatic life like fish and sharks swimming outside the underwater hideout. I thought this area was beautiful, and I feel like it highlights the level of the world design. Battling through this corridor, Jacques discovers the Hyosai, a ball and chain weapon. While I personally didn't use this weapon often because it is extremely sluggish, the Hyosai is imbued with ice, enabling it to freeze enemies and deal substantial damage when they are immobilized. With the Hyosai in hand, Jacques can unlock a previously inaccessible door sealed by an elemental barrier. Inside, he encounters a room with large, slamming pistons and a wingless firefly on the floor. In the future, Sam navigates to the same room, where now the pistons are inactive, and traveling to the end of the room, he retrieves the firefly wings, sending these back to Jacques, allowing him to repair the firefly, and enabling him to leap over the pistons to reach the other end of the room. Jacques obtains a shining crystal, and upon removing it, the pistons stop moving, revealing that this crystal serves as a power source. After leaving the room, Jacques once again encounters Heihachi, who is seen fighting off Genma. Jacques, confused, remarks that he thought Heihachi was aligned with the Genma, but Heihachi merely laughs and walks away without explanation. Jacques then sends the crystal to Sam, allowing him to return to the same room and restore power to the area by placing the crystal back in its original spot. With the pistons now operational again, Sam must time his movements carefully to exit the room. Power restored, Sam can now access a previously unreachable elevator. After further exploration after the elevator, Sam is granted another weapon, a large fire-imbued battle axe called the Chigo. After obtaining the Chigo, Sam makes his way back to the previously flooded room that we resolved with Jacques, leading him down to the room where Jacques previously encountered the Gatekeeper. This marks the point where Sam gains access to the Demon Realm. Unlike our previous encounter with the Demon Realm with Jacques, Sam's Demon Realm has more branching paths, increasing the number of total rooms for Sam to explore. After completing all the rooms, Sam is rewarded with another Oni Orb, which in a second playthrough unlocks yet another weapon from the first game. After clearing the Demon Realm, Sam unlocks a previously sealed elemental barrier, a door Jacques was unable to open. Inside, he finds Akko's yellow vest, which requires 5 Echo Spirits to activate. This vest's ability, it causes red souls to appear with every attack landed on the enemy, making it highly beneficial for upgrading weapons and abilities. I found this particular vest very useful in the upcoming level. Sam also discovers the red disc, another key that allows access to another door in the Timefold chamber. He sends the disc to Jacques, enabling him to enter a new area. Upon stepping into the area, Jacques is immediately met with a boss fight against a massive Genma guard dog. A unique mechanic exclusive to Jacques is present here. Fireflies scattered throughout the boss arena, allowing him to leap over the enemy for evasive maneuvers or to attack them from behind. This makes his combat style stand apart from Sam's during boss fights. After defeating the Genma guard dog, the room begins to flood with water, forcing Jacques to escape up a large flight of stairs. At the top, he discovers a Genma train. As he boards, he reflects on how much he misses his son, Henri, showing his deepening emotional drive to return home. The perspective then shifts back to Sam, who is now able to explore the same area Jacques had just traveled through. As he proceeds, he encounters Ranmaru again. This time, Ranmaru reveals that he originally planned to torture Samanosuke to death, but instead, he has something even more twisted in mind. A bright light surrounds Sam, and Ranmaru declares his intention to transform both Sam and Akko into Genma. At this moment, the scene shifts back to Michelle and Henri in their apartment. Sensing that something is terribly wrong, Henri runs off, with Michelle chasing after him. This sequence leads them to Notre Dame Cathedral, where Michelle becomes the next playable character. Much like OU in Onimusha 2, Michelle is given the soul bracelet, allowing her to absorb souls to later transfer to Sam. Armed with firearms and grenades, she fights her way through the cathedral, eventually making her way to the underground Genma facility beneath Paris. Here, she discovers Guildenstern's time lab, where she finds a crucial document known as the Paris Report. The Paris Report, written by Guildenstern, describes his fascination with a zoo that he discovered. In his writings, he expresses delight at the variety of animals available, believing they could be used for experiments. This chilling revelation reinforces just how inhuman and scientific the Genma's approach to world domination is. After reading the report, Akko suddenly appears and informs Michelle that Sam has been captured by the Genma. Piecing everything together, Michelle deduces that he must be at the Bologna Zoo. The game then shifts perspectives to Sam and Henri, who are now trapped inside electric cages, setting up Michelle and Akko's rescue mission at the zoo. Upon arriving at the Bologna Zoo, Michelle and Akko immediately confront one of Guildenstern's new creations, Genma beasts transformed from gorillas. This is one of the best moments in the game to utilize Akko's yellow vest. Its ability causes red souls to emerge from enemies with each hit, and since Michelle's machine gun fires rapidly, every bullet triggers the effect. Given the gorilla's high health, this area allows players to farm a massive amount of red souls. As Michelle explores, she comes across a fun Easter egg, a panda costume cutout with a sunflower on its wrist. This is a reference to the special unlockable costume in the first Onimusha game. Michelle eventually finds herself in a room containing 4 levers, each lowering a suspended cage. One contains a sniper rifle, another holds a boat key, while the remaining 2 contain more of the gorilla Genma creatures. After obtaining the boat key, Michelle finds the boat dock and sets off down the waterway inside the zoo. During the ride, Michelle and Akko share a heartfelt conversation. Akko asks why Michelle and Henri don't get along, and Michelle explains that Henri's mother died in a car accident while protecting him. Since then, he has blamed himself for her death and refuses to accept Michelle as a new mother figure. However, the conversation is interrupted when the boat suddenly hits something, and Genma jump aboard. Michelle fights them off, repairs the boat, and continues deeper into the zoo. She eventually reaches a room with paintings on the wall, showcasing various enemies from the first Onimusha game. A great callback for longtime fans. Continuing further, Michelle finds the cages where Sam and Henri are being held. She locates a switch to open the doors, and after Henri and Michelle reunite, Guildenstern suddenly appears. Before anyone can react, he kidnaps both Michelle and Henri, leaving Sam alone in the facility. The perspective now shifts to Sam, who must find a way to pursue them. We now backtrack through the zoo with Sam to a previously locked door, now accessible with one of the weapons. He finds the lab building key. He then returns to the area where Michelle and Henri were held and uses the key to unlock a new section of the zoo. Upon entering the lab, Sam finds Michelle and Henri strapped to tables, with Guildenstern looming over them. Guildenstern creepily explains his fascination with children, saying their organs are so fresh and soft. As he raises the tables towards the ceiling, the boss fight against Guildenstern begins. During the battle, Guildenstern hovers above the arena, attacking from a distance while summoning waves of powerful Genma minions. This fight is one of the most satisfying in the game, as it finally allows players to take down one of the longest running villains in the Onimusha series, second only to Nobunaga. Upon his defeat, Guildenstern taunts Sam, revealing that the time folder is already complete. He claims that as long as the time folder exists, the Genma will rule the world, implying that his death means little in the grand scheme of things. However, before Sam can get the location of the time folder out of him, Guildenstern dies. With Guildenstern defeated, Sam releases Michelle and Henri. As they regroup, Michelle recognizes an image on the wall, a large castle, which she identifies as Mont St. Mitchell. This must be where the time folder is being held. The group sets out for Mont St. Mitchell. Traveling by car, during the ride, Akko decides to check on Jacques. The scene shifts to Jacques and Akko aboard the Genma train. Akko asks Jacques if he has anything from his late wife, and he gives her a wedding ring. Akko then travels back to Henri and hands him the ring. With this item in Henri's hands, Akko uses her ability to allow Henri to communicate with his mother's spirit. Henri finally expresses his guilt, believing her death was his fault. His mother reassures him, telling him that everything happens for a reason, and that he cannot blame himself. She encourages him to open his heart, and reminds him that she will always be watching over him and Jacques. The scene then shifts back to the car ride. As Sam, Michelle, Henri, and Akko arrive at Mont St. Mitchell, Michelle and Henri stay behind in the parking lot, while Sam and Akko venture inside. Upon entering Mont St. Mitchell, we encounter another time fold, allowing us to switch between Sam and Jacques. We now shift back to Jacques, who is still riding the Genma train. The train arrives at Mont St. Mitchell, and for a brief moment Jacques believes he's finally returned to his own time. However, Akko clarifies that he is still 500 years in the past, and that in the present day, Michelle and Henri have arrived at the same location. As Jacques steps forward, he is suddenly confronted by Heihachi, who this time attacks him directly. During their battle, a Genma woman named Vega Donna appears, ordering Heihachi to kill Jacques. However, Heihachi hesitates and ultimately refuses, stating, "I never like taking orders." Before walking away, Vega Donna insults him, before chasing after him, leaving Jacques to proceed alone. Scaling the wall using the fireflies, he encounters a surviving human prisoner who explains that the Genma force them to work until they die. The prisoner specifically mentions Vega Donna, confirming that she is overseeing the operation. Vega is the Genma queen and the wife of Nobunaga Oda. She possesses incredible speed and can create mirage-like copies of herself to confuse enemies. In this area, Jacques must solve a puzzle by lighting all the torches to deactivate moving spikes, allowing him to reach the chamber they were guarding. Inside, he finds the main gate key, and immediately sends it through the time fold to Sam. With this key, Sam can now venture deeper into Mont St. Mitchell and uncover the Red Eye Stone. He then sends the Red Eye Stone back to Jacques, which allows Jacques to activate another puzzle. This puzzle involves memorizing and stepping on plates in a specific order based on the sun, moon, and star symbols. If Jacques steps on the wrong plate or takes too long, he is struck by a stone slab. Successfully solving the puzzle multiple times raises a set of stairs, allowing him to proceed. Once again, Jacques encounters the gatekeeper, meaning we can re-enter the demon realm. This time, the branching paths have expanded significantly, increasing the number of floors and possible routes. Just like before, Jacques must fight his way through the trials to earn a reward and strengthen his abilities. After completing the demon realm, Jacques ventures deeper into Mont St. Mitchell, and discovers Akko's orange vest. This vest, when activated, displays a health bar above enemies and indicates the timing window for critical attacks, known as Isen. However, I personally find this feature less useful, as the visual cues for critical timing remain brief, and seeing enemy health bars doesn't significantly impact gameplay. With the stairs now raised, Seminosuke can access previously unreachable areas in his timeline. He too can enter the demon realm, which now presents even more branching paths than those Jacques faced. With Sam's demon realm, he discovers the purple vest for Akko. This vest is particularly advantageous as it reduces the amount of magic power consumed during attacks, allowing for more frequent use of powerful magic abilities. It's worth noting that collecting all of Akko's vests is essential to unlocking the true ending of Onimusha 3. As Sam ventures deeper into Mont St. Mitchell, he stumbles upon a large time lab. Inside, he discovers a black circular portal on the ground and decides to step in. Upon entering, he is suddenly transported back to Paris, but something is noticeably off. The environment is distorted, with a greenish wave-like effect on the screen, creating an eerie and unnatural atmosphere. Fighting his way through the enemies, he reaches the top of the Arc de Triomphe, where he finds the red key. He soon locates another black portal, which he uses to return to Mont St. Mitchell. Back in the past, Sam sends the red key to Jacques, through Akko, enabling Jacques to unlock a previously inaccessible red door. Upon unlocking the door, Jacques encounters a disturbing sight. A group of humans being forced to push a massive object in circles under the command of the Genma woman, Vega Donna. She berates them, demanding they work faster before leaving the room. Seizing the opportunity, Jacques rushes in, urging the captives to flee before the Genma return. As he exits the room, he runs into Heihachi, who unexpectedly tosses him a key and informs him that more French prisoners are locked in the storehouse. Jacques heads back to the storehouse, located near the train where his journey began. Along the way, he encounters escaping slaves being attacked by Genma and steps in to defend them. If Jacques successfully defends them, they reward him with an item. Upon reaching the storehouse, he reassures the prisoners that he's there to help. Suddenly, the castle begins to shake, and Jacques stumbles upon a strange Genma plant. This plant presents a unique puzzle. Outside by the train, there are several plots of soil where it can be planted. Jacques must choose the correct plot so that in Sam's time, 500 years later, the plant will have successfully grown. Switching perspectives, we now control Sam in the present. Thanks to Jacques' careful planting, the fully grown Genma plant is now in place, allowing Sam to climb down a newly accessible wall. Inside, he finds an iron gear, which he sends back to Jacques via Akko. The gear allows Jacques to unlock yet another new area. After progressing through the next section, Jacques suddenly finds himself trapped in a sealed room, and poisonous gas starts filling the chamber. At this moment, the game cuts back to Henri and Michel. Still sitting in their car in the parking lot, Henri senses something is wrong, insisting to Michel that his father is in serious danger. Michel acknowledges his concern, but reminds him that they will still need to find Semenosuke first, since they'll need his help. Now players take control of Michel while she makes her way through Mont St. Mitchell, in search of Sam. Thankfully, Henri cannot be harmed during this segment, which prevents it from turning into a frustrating escort mission. Once Michel and Henri find Sam, they explain Jacques' predicament. Akko appears and confirms that Jacques is trapped in the basement of the building, urging them to act quickly. Upon entering the room, they see Henri interacting with a mechanism on the wall. In an unexpected moment, Henri somehow telepathically communicates with Jacques, instructing him on how to disable the gas trap. At this point, players must replicate a sequence of button presses shown by Henri. This puzzle must be completed 5 times, with each round adding more inputs to the sequence. If the sequence is entered incorrectly, the entire puzzle resets to the first step. If the player takes too long, Jacques will die from the gas. Once successfully completed, the gas disperses and the door unlocks, freeing Jacques. As Michel and Henri and Sam regroup, they discover a screen displaying Ranmaru. He announces that he is about to activate the time folder, a device that will further disrupt time itself. Michel immediately recognizes the Eiffel Tower in the background, realizing that this is where the time folder is being activated. Before anyone can react, Ranmaru sets off an explosion at Mont St. Mitchell, causing massive destruction. As the characters flee, a Genma appears between Sam and Michel, separating them. Sam tells Michel and Henri to keep moving, staying behind to fight the Genma alone. Michel and Henri begin walking to the car. As they pass a large boulder, the Genma guard dog that Jacques previously fought bursts through. Michel attempts to defend Henri, but is injured in the process. Just as the guard dog charges at Henri, Semenosuke emerges from Mont St. Mitchell, triggering a second boss fight against the guard dog, this time with Sam. After the battle, Henri rushes to Michel's side, showing his growing love for her as a mother figure. Michel regains consciousness and Henri embraces her tightly. Sam tells Akko that they are safe and instructs her to check on Jacques. Before Akko departs, Henri tells her to relay a message to Jacques, that he needs to marry Michel. As Akko travels back to Jacques' time, the scene shifts to Michel, Henri, and Sam driving away quickly as Mont St. Mitchell explodes in the background. They cheer as they narrowly escape the destruction. Back in the past, Jacques, having just escaped the poisonous gas trap, is informed by Akko about the situation. Jacques continues exploring Mont St. Mitchell, which is still intact in this time. As he ventures deeper, he finds Vega standing in a room that looks like it belongs to Onimusha Castle. She taunts Jacques, telling him he's too late. Suddenly, the entire room begins to ascend. Using his whip, Jacques manages to lash onto the structure as it rises into the sky. The scene shifts to a wide shot of Mont St. Mitchell collapsing as a massive flying Genma beast emerges from the ruins, with a part of Onimusha Castle attached to its back. A giant cannon extends from the castle, locking onto the remains of Mont St. Mitchell before firing and completely annihilating it. Jacques and Akko hold on as the Genma beast flies away. Vega smirks and proclaims, "With this, we will be unstoppable." As the Genma beast lands, it submerges itself into the ground, making it appear as only if a portion of the castle is visible. Jacques, unable to hold on, falls into a snowy region below. As he regains his bearings, he is approached by Sam and Heihachi. Sam informs Jacques that they are at Lake Biwa in Japan. Jacques, still wary of Heihachi, takes a defensive stance, but Sam reassures him that Heihachi is on their side now. Heihachi explains that his loyalty to his lord forced him to fight alongside the Genma, but he has reached his breaking point and now wants to help them defeat Nobunaga. Jacques and Sam accept his aid, and Heihachi expresses his gratitude for being given the chance to fight against the Genma. Akko comments on the unnatural cold, noting that it should not be snowing during this season. Sam speculates that this is the work of the Genma. He also recalls a legend about an Oni orb that is said to be in this region, an orb that contains the spirits of an imprisoned Oni army. He believes that if they can find it, they could use it to counter Nobunaga's forces and storm Azuchi Castle. Eager to prove himself, Heihachi offers to find the orb, but Jacques tells him that they need someone on the inside at Azuchi Castle. Though clearly disappointed, Heihachi agrees to the plan and sets off to Azuchi Castle. Jacques and Sam continues forward, eventually reaching a frozen lake. Chunks of ice float across the water, and Jacques uses the fireflies to pull them into place, creating a makeshift path for them to cross. On the other side, they discover a mysterious mansion. As Jacques and Akko enter, a door slams shut behind them, separating them from Sam. Sam tells them that he will search the perimeter while they explore the inside. Navigating through the mansion, Jacques finds several firefly levers of different colors that correspond to locked gates. He eventually uncovers a trap door leading underground. Upon descending, he battles a wave of Genma before discovering a strange orb. At that moment, Sam enters, having found another way inside. He confirms that this is the Oni Army Orb, the key to summoning an army of Oni warriors. With their objective secured, they head to Azuchi Castle. As they arrive, a massive horde of Genma soldiers block their path. Sam places the Oni Army Orb into his Oni Gauntlet, releasing the imprisoned Oni souls. An entire army of Oni warriors materialize and begin fighting the Genma, giving Jacques an opening to push forward to the castle. Inside the castle, Jacques encounters Heihachi fighting off a group of Genma soldiers. Jacques tells him that Sam is controlling the Oni army outside. Suddenly, Ranmaru appears on a balcony above them. Heihachi points his weapon at Ranmaru and declares, "I will have Nobunaga's head on a spike." Ranmaru smirks and replies, "I'd like to see you try." He then turns to Jacques and tells him that an elevator nearby will lead him to Nobunaga. Jacques takes the elevator and fights his way through the structure, eventually reaching the upper levels. Here, Jacques encounters Marcellus again, jumping from the rooftops above, trying to strike Jacques down. I really appreciate them bringing so much from the first game into 3. I think it pays a really nice homage to the series and for long-term fans. After defeating Marcellus, he encounters Vega once again. She scolds Jacques, saying, "You dare to come this far," and reveals her true status. She is Nobunaga's wife and the queen of the Genma. She commands Jacques to bow before her, but he defies her, calling her a witch. Amused, she laughs and taunts him, claiming he stands no chance before launching into battle. The fight takes place in a grand hall where Vega Donna moves swiftly, clinging to walls and swinging from pillars above. She hurls dark magic at Jacques and can create clones of herself to confuse him. After a fierce battle, Jacques lands the final blow. Wounded, she crawls towards a set of Nobunaga's armor displayed on a throne. With her last breath whispers, "My lord Nobunaga, if only I could have died in your arms." After Vega Donna's death, a staircase descends from the ceiling. Jacques climbs it, finding Heihachi gravely wounded. Just then, Sam rushes into the room. Heihachi, struggling to speak, reveals that he fell into Ranmaru's trap and failed his mission. He then delivers a critical revelation. Nobunaga is not in Azuchi Castle, but Honnoji Temple, the same place from the game's opening sequence. With his dying breath, he utters, "Kill the Genma and Nobunaga." Jacques, deeply affected by Heihachi's death, turns to Akko, telling her to go back to Henri and let them know it's time for the final battle. The scene shifts back to Paris, where Sam, Henri, and Michel arrive at the Eiffel Tower. The tower is now covered in pulsating Genma growths, with massive tendrils crawling up its sides. Dark green and black storm clouds swirl above the city, with lightning striking ominously. As they step out of the car, Akko appears and relays Jacques' message, telling Henri that your dad will be back before you know it. Henri is visibly excited at the news, but Sam remains serious. If Jacques fails, Nobunaga could enter the modern world, and the time folder must be stopped at all costs. Michel and Henri stay behind as Sam enters the tower with Akko. Taking a lift inside, Sam fights waves of Genma enemies, but halfway up, the lift malfunctions, forcing him to escape through a hatch in the roof. As he climbs higher, he is ambushed by Brainstorm, leading to another boss battle. Like before, Brainstorm is a floating, grotesque Genma with multiple mechanical limbs and energy-based attacks. After defeating him, Sam destroys a large crystal, which was generating an electrical barrier, preventing further ascent. Continuing his climb, black circles start appearing on the path. If Sam gets sucked into one, he is teleported back to where he fought Brainstorm, forcing him to fight his way back up again. This mechanic makes progression challenging and tense. Along the way, Sam finds another time lab document, explaining, the time folder requires synchronization with 2 specific pulses. The pulse of time. If the time folder isn't properly tuned, the fold will be unstable, which is why Sam was originally sent to Paris. And the pulse of Earth. The device must be installed at a location in sync with Earth's energy. The Eiffel Tower is the ideal location for both time and Earth pulses. If properly tuned and atomic energy is added, a perfect time fold can be created. Reaching the top of the Eiffel Tower, Sam confronts Ranmaru. Ranmaru declares, "We are ready to welcome Lord Nobunaga into this world, and your head will make the perfect welcoming gift." The battle begins, using the same mechanics as the last Ranmaru fight, but with increased speed and aggression. After an intense duel, Sam defeats Ranmaru. As he dies, he activates the time folder, screaming, "Our Lord Nobunaga is near." The scene cuts back to Japan to replay the game's opening battle, but this time, Jacques fights alongside Sam. As they walk towards Hinoji Temple, Ranmaru from the past steps forward to challenge them. Jacques immediately takes him down. Avenging Heihachi, standing over Ranmaru's lifeless body, they utter, "You have been avenged, Heihachi." After Ranmaru's defeat, Jacques gains access to the final Gatekeeper location, allowing him to enter the Demon Realm once more. This area presents even more branching paths and challenges, culminating in Jacques obtaining the Ultimate Whip, his most powerful weapon. The Ultimate Whip, also known as the Onimusha, is comparable to Sam's Bishamon sword, offering infinite magic and devastating attacks. To acquire this weapon, Jacques must navigate the Dark Realm and collect 8 blue orbs to unlock the chest containing the weapon. Jacques, having left the Demon Realm, joins Sam as they enter Hinoji Temple. They approach Nobunaga, who acknowledges their presence with disdain. He references past encounters with Jubei, stating that once again the Oni children have come to stop him. Nobunaga attacks first, hurling an energy blast that knocks Jacques back. Sam rushes forward to engage him in battle, but is also struck by Nobunaga's overwhelming power. Jacques stands to fight, initiating the boss battle. After sustaining enough damage, Nobunaga falls back, prompting Akko to cheer, thinking he has been defeated. Jacques rushes to aid Samanosuke, but at that moment a glowing light envelops him. Akko realizes that the time folder is activating, meaning Jacques is being pulled back to his own time. Before leaving, Jacques and Sam shake hands, and Sam saying, "I owe you one." Jacques then steps back into the black circle, surrounded by a time-traveling dome, and begins to disappear. However, as Jacques is mid-transport, Nobunaga suddenly strikes Sam, mortally wounding him. Sam, barely able to move, orders Akko to warn the other Sam in Paris. Nobunaga looms over Sam's body and delivers a killing blow. This moment presents a major time travel paradox. If Samanosuke dies in the past, his future self should cease to exist. However, the game does not address that contradiction, leaving it open to interpretation. Jacques arrives back in Paris, reuniting with Henri, Michel, and the future Samanosuke. Jacques informs Sam of what has transpired, but Sam already knows thanks to Akko. He tells Jacques that he will return to his time to defeat Nobunaga. Jacques insists on going with him, but Sam explains that the folds of time must restore them to their respective areas. Before he leaves, Sam approaches Henri, instructing him to take care of Michel, and they will be a good family. As he begins to glow, signaling his return to the past, he vanishes. Just as things seem to settle, Ranmaru reappears, revealing that he had survived his previous encounter. He attacks Henri, fatally wounding him. Jacques strikes down Ranmaru and rushes to his son's side, devastated. In a surprising turn, Jacques' only gauntlet begins to glow, activating its immense power. It instantly heals Henri's wounds, bringing him back to life. This moment solidifies the gauntlet's incredible abilities and the deepening connection between father and son. Back in the past, Sam is granted access to the final Demon Realm, which, like Jacques, presents even more branching paths. To obtain his most powerful weapon, the Bishamon sword, he must collect 8 red orbs scattered throughout the realm. Once he secures the weapon, he exits the Demon Realm and heads back to Hinoji Temple for the ultimate battle. Inside the temple, Sam finds Nobunaga standing over the corpse of his past self. Smirking, Nobunaga mocks the barbarian who fled. Determined, Sam places his Oni gauntlet over his fallen counterpart's gauntlet, absorbing its power. This transformation grants him his full Onimusha form, preparing him for the final battle. The intense battle unfolds, with Nobunaga shifting into multiple monstrous forms. He transforms into a massive Genma warrior before evolving further, growing enormous fiery tendrils from the back of his head. With each phase, the fight becomes more grueling, pushing Sam to his limits. Ultimately, after a prolonged and intense battle, Nobunaga is struck down. As he lies on the ground, he speaks his final words. "A man's life is 50 years, but a mere blink in the life of the cosmos. A dream, an illusion." His body begins to emit dark energy, which Samanosuke absorbs in his Oni gauntlet, ensuring that Nobunaga's reign of terror is finally over. As the temple collapses, Akko urges Sam to escape, and together they flee the crumbling structure. In the standard ending, Sam is seen resting by a quiet stream before walking off into the distance with Akko. However, if players have collected all of Akko's vests throughout the game, an alternate ending is unlocked. The alternate ending, Akko transforms into a human girl, exclaiming, "Yes, I'm a real girl now, and I can love too." The implication is that she and Samanosuke may share a romantic connection as they walk off together. After the credits, an ominous scene unfolds. A group of soldiers rides along a path, surrounding a central figure. The man declares, "The great Nobunaga is dead. Now it is time for Hideyoshi to conquer the world. His eyes glow red as he lets out a menacing laugh, heavily implying that the Genma threat is far from over, and that Hideyoshi is the next major adversary. And that brings us to the end of Onimusha 3: Demon Siege. This game took the series in a bold new direction, expanding its scope with time travel, dual protagonists, and larger-than-life set pieces. While some elements like the modern-day Paris sections were a bit divisive, the core gameplay stayed true to the series' roots, offering fast-paced combat, satisfying puzzles, and deep lore surrounding the Oni and the Genma conflict. The addition of Jacques brought fresh mechanics with his whip-based combat, and the dynamic between him and Samanosuke added a lot of emotional weight to the story. The game also leaned into its cinematic presentation, with high-quality CGI, an intense final showdown with Nobunaga, and a bittersweet yet satisfying ending that hints at what's to come. Looking back, Onimusha 3 remains one of the most ambitious entries in the franchise. It wrapped up Samanosuke's arc, while setting the stage for future events. And despite some quirks, it still holds up as a fantastic action-adventure game. With the series' legacy still strong, it's a perfect time to look back at these classics, whether you're a longtime fan or just discovering the series. Onimusha 3 stands as a testament to the franchise's unique blend of history, mythology, and intense combat.
Mitsunari, what are you planning? Why are you here?
Onimusha Dawn of Dreams marks a significant turning point for the Onimusha series, bringing with it new characters, deeper gameplay mechanics, and an ambitious expansion of the established lore. Released in 2006 for the PlayStation 2, Dawn of Dreams follows in the wake of Onimusha 3: Demon Siege, a game that seemingly brought closure to the long-running war against the Genma and their master, the Dark Lord Nobunaga Oda. However, history has a way of repeating itself, and though one tyrant has fallen, another has risen to take his place. The cycle of war, bloodshed, and demonic resurrection has begun once more, threatening to plunge Japan into an era of darkness far worse than anything seen before.
It has begun. I will not allow you to stain this world with your evil. This light is only the beginning, O wise Tenka. Unless the Black Oni appears, you don't stand a chance. With this light, the beautiful cherry trees will bloom and cover the land. Then my work will be complete.
The game is set in the late 16th century, years after the events of Onimusha 3. The legendary battle against Nobunaga ended with his defeat. His soul absorbed into the Oni gauntlet, and his demonic reign over Japan was seemingly put to rest. But while his death should have brought peace, a new evil has begun to stir. This time, it is Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who historically succeeded Nobunaga and unified Japan, who has become the harbinger of doom. In real history, Hideyoshi was known for ending the Sengoku period and establishing the groundwork for a unified Japan. But in Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, his rise to power takes a much darker turn. After Hideyoshi's rise, strange and ominous events begin sweeping across the land. The sky burns crimson, blood red as if warning of the horrors to come. Monstrous creatures known as the Genma, thought to have been vanquished, return in even greater numbers, spreading death and destruction across the land. This peaceful illusion of unity is shattered as villages are razed. The innocent are slaughtered, and dark forces once again tighten their grip on Japan. Yet even with this terror unfolding, Hideyoshi continues to rule, almost as if he himself is an extension of the Genma's growing power. The people of Japan whisper of his connection to the demonic forces, his rule now a reign of terror rather than a beacon of stability. The world needs a new hero, a warrior who can stand against the overwhelming darkness that threatens to consume everything. Enter Soki, the Blue Demon. Unlike previous Onimusha protagonists, Soki is a completely original character rather than being based on a historical figure. His true name is Hideyasu Yuki, and though his origins are shrouded in mystery, it is immediately clear that he is no ordinary warrior. From the moment he steps onto the battlefield, Soki's immense strength and skill are on full display. Unlike Sam or Jubei, who relied on precision and tactical swordplay, Soki wields a massive blade with raw power, tearing through waves of Genma with sheer ferocity. His moniker, the Blue Demon, is not just a title. It is a reflection of his true nature, a foreshadowing of the power that lies dormant within him. But who is Soki, really? Why does he stand against Hideyoshi, and what is the connection between him and the Genma? These are questions that linger as the game begins, setting the stage for a narrative that is more complex and layered than previous entries in the series. Unlike Samanosuke, who is bound by duty to fight against the Genma, or Jubei, whose bloodline granted him unique abilities, Soki's struggle is far more personal. His connection to the Genma runs deep, and his story will unravel secrets that redefine the very fabric of the Onimusha universe. While previous Onimusha games focused on battles against demonic warlords seeking domination, Dawn of Dreams raises the stakes significantly. Hideyoshi is not just using the Genma, he is actively reshaping the world in their image. Under his rule, massive Genma fortresses have been erected, and his influence spreads like a plague, infecting both the land and its people. The once proud warriors of Japan now serve as pawns in his unholy conquest. Even nature itself seems to bow before his will, as eerie supernatural occurrences become an everyday reality. The game opens with a breathtaking cinematic that immediately establishes this new reality. We see Japan in flames, the Genma rampaging through villages, their monstrous forms cutting down anyone in their path. The sky glows with unholy light, and in the distance, Hideyoshi's empire looms, an unstoppable force of demonic power, but amidst the destruction, one figure stands against them. We take control of Soki as he arrives in a burning village. Now overrun by Genma forces, the atmosphere is chaotic, buildings crumble, flames engulf homes, and the screams of the innocent echo in the distance. The game wastes no time throwing the player into combat, immediately showcasing Soki's brutal, fast-paced fighting style. Armed with his massive blade, Soki cuts through hordes of lesser Genma soldiers, who come in various grotesque forms. Some wield swords and attempt to coordinate attacks, while others rely on sheer numbers to overwhelm them. The opening battle serves as a tutorial, teaching players how to chain combos, use quick evasions, and perform devastating Isan counters, a mechanic where Soki can instantly slay enemies with a well-timed strike. After cutting down waves of Genma, Soki reaches an open clearing. This is where we confront the colossal Genma. This encounter showcases the game's dynamic combat mechanics and cinematic flair. The Genma boss employs powerful moves, including sweeping strikes and area of effect attacks. Occasionally, it places its hand on the rooftop where Soki stands, providing a brief window for players to unleash a series of attacks on the vulnerable limb. Upon depleting the boss's health, a dramatic sequence unfolds. Soki dashes up the Genma's massive sword, delivering a decisive slash to its throat, causing the behemoth to collapse. Not only highlights the game's cinematic direction, but also provides a satisfying conclusion to the intense battle. Following the boss's defeat, the game transitions into a narrative segment that recaps events from previous titles and introduces new plot elements. We learn that on June 29, 1596, a mysterious crimson star known as the Omen Star appeared in the sky. This celestial event coincided with a sudden and ominous transformation in Hideyoshi Toyotomi, the ruler who succeeded Nobunaga. Under Hideyoshi's altered demeanor, the Genma resurgence began, plunging Japan into chaos once more. This exposition sets the stage for Soki's journey, intertwining his fate with the enigmatic changes in Hideyoshi and the re-emergence of the Genma threat. Unlike previous Onimusha titles, where progression unfolds linearly with the story, Onimusha Dawn of Dreams introduces a level-based structure. Players can revisit previous stages, often needing different characters to access locked areas, as certain barriers can only be bypassed by specific individuals. This mechanic encourages exploration and strategic backtracking. As Stage 2, the Blue Demon, begins, the scene shifts to the plains of Suruga. On January 30th, 1598, the third year of Kaicho, 2 years after the intense boss battle we just completed, we find Soki resting in a hidden shelter, where we're introduced to Minokichi, a member of the Mino clan. If you look closely, you might notice that Minokichi bears resemblance to another familiar character from the series. hinting a deeper connection within the Onimusha lore. Meanwhile, outside in the streets, a Genma general, Denamon, marches through town. As Soki emerges, he immediately confronts the Genma, demanding that they drop their goods. The Genma, taken aback that a mere human would dare issue commands, sneers at Soki, reminding him that these streets belong to Lord Hideyoshi. But when Soki confidently calls Denamon by name, it stuns the Genma further, clearly not expecting such defiance. A battle ensues between Soki and Denamon, and after an intense fight, Soki emerges victorious. The scene then transitions to evening, where two shadowy figures stand atop nearby rooftops. Observing the fight from afar, one of them, clearly impressed, remarks on how effortlessly Soki dispatched Denamon, speculating that he must be the fabled Blue Demon, the one destroying Lord Hideyoshi's cherry trees. A woman standing alongside him gasps in disbelief. It's him. I finally found him. Her tone suggests a long and personal search for Soki. The two figures discuss Soki's notorious reputation as a traitor to Hideyoshi, acknowledging that if the rumors are true, they should proceed carefully. They also mention the cherry trees, emphasizing their importance to their mission, before vanishing into the night to find another batch elsewhere. The scene then shifts back to Soki's hideout, which serves as a safe zone where players can purchase weapons and items, upgrade equipment, and prepare for upcoming battles. This marks a major departure from the previous Onimusha games, as Dawn of Dream fully embraces RPG mechanics. Characters gain XP by defeating enemies, and this XP can be spent on upgrading abilities such as increased attack power, boosted critical damage, extending critical strike chains, allowing Soki to link together devastating critical attacks, and more. And all of this can be done through the Gatekeeper from previous titles. This RPG approach adds a layer of depth and strategy, reinforcing Dawn of Dreams as the most expansive and customizable entry in the series. Upon exiting the hideout, we begin Stage 3. Jubei has arrived. We learn that Soki has made his way to the Plains Outpost, continuing his quest to burn down Hideyoshi's cherry trees. However, word of his action has spread, and one warrior, having heard the rumors, is now searching for him. The scene shifts to a young woman wandering through the streets. She is soon confronted by two thugs who attempt to harass her, but she quickly takes them down with ease. She then asks if they know anything about the Blue Demon, explaining that she had heard rumors of his presence in the area. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to Soki and Minokichi. Minokichi warns that something wicked is approaching, foreshadowing an imminent danger. Soki continues exploring the streets, where we are introduced to the game's version of trick boxes. Unlike previous titles, these puzzles require players to rotate colored spheres so that they align across their respective lines, a new mechanic that adds an extra layer of problem solving. Fully embracing its RPG elements, Onimusha Dawn of Dreams introduces a vast arsenal of weapons, rather than limiting players to a fixed number of choices. Each weapon has unique strengths and weaknesses, much like in traditional RPGs. While many still retain elemental properties, the game allows players to experiment with a wider variety of gear. Additionally, players can now equip armor, necklaces, and rings that boost stats such as attack and defense, further emphasizing the game's RPG depth. As Soki explores further, he finally encounters the young woman from earlier. However, instead of speaking, she immediately calls him a monster and attacks him. Recognizing her fighting style, Soki realizes that she is using the Yagyu technique. This leads to a boss fight against the mysterious warrior. After a short but intense battle, Soki emerges victorious and the woman reveals her identity. Jubei. That's right, she is the granddaughter of Jubei Yagyu from Onimusha 2. A key detail that Soki notices is that one of her eyes is red, signifying that she has inherited her grandfather's Oni abilities. Before their conversation can continue, a troop of Genma suddenly ambush them, forcing Jubei to fight alongside Soki. For this moment onward, Jubei officially joins the party as our first companion, fighting alongside us for the rest of the level. Their journey leads them to a bridge, where they are once again attacked by Genma. During the battle, they are knocked into a small stream below, continuing their fight as they push forward. Now that Jubei is a playable character, we gain access to upgrading her equipment just like Soki, equipping her with items and armor to boost her stats, and leveling up her abilities as she gains skill points through XP. Another major mechanic introduced here is the Test of Valor. These optional combat trials appear throughout each level and encourage players to replay stages to complete new ones. These tests present unique challenges such as defeating a powerful enemy within a time limit, executing a long combo chain, or surviving against overwhelming odds. Players are rewarded based on performance. Bronze and silver medals typically grant consumable items like health restoratives, while gold medals provide stronger rewards including rare weapons. At the end of the level, Soki and Jubei encounter a large beetle-like Genma boss. These early boss battles prove especially challenging, as the party's weapons and stats are still relatively weak. As a result, players must rely on hit-and-run tactics, slowly whittling down the boss's health while avoiding its devastating attacks. After finally defeating the boss, the team returns to the hideout, where Jubei is now a permanent ally. She shares some new information. She has heard rumors of cherry trees appearing in Sata Pass, setting the stage for the next chapter of their journey. After each chapter, the store updates with new weapons, consumable items, and equipment, giving players access to better gear as the game progresses. During hideout segments, players can talk with their companions, learning more about their backstories and lore. Some of these conversations can be surprisingly odd. One of the first dialogue options allows us to ask Jubei about her chest size, leading to a lighthearted but awkward exchange. A new gameplay mechanic introduced in this entry is in-depth item crafting. As we explore levels, we collect ingredients such as grass and mushrooms, which can be combined to create stronger healing items like level 2 medicine, for just one example. Our next level is Stage 4, Ohatsu's Tears. Jubei and Soki travel to Sata Pass in Suruga, where a large concentration of cherry trees has been growing, exactly what Soki had been hunting. To cover more ground, they split up. Soki acts as bait, drawing the Genma's attention. Jubei infiltrates the fortress using her speed and agility to navigate the terrain. As Jubei makes her way through the dense forest, we are introduced to a new traversal mechanic. She is the only character who can balance along narrow beams, allowing her to cross obstacles that other characters cannot. After progressing further into the fortress, she reaches a gate, spotting Soki fighting off Genma on the other side. Lowering the gate allows them to reunite, and from this point on we can switch between characters at will. We also have access to the command system, letting us issue orders to our AI-controlled companion. Stay back and heal, keeps them out of danger and allows them to recover, or attack everything in sight, aggressively engaging enemies. The one that I usually leave it on is the follow me and attack option, where they just stay close and attack nearby threats. Together, they battle through the fortress, encountering the first major environmental puzzle. Jubei can crawl under wooden boards to open new paths for Soki. However, this also blocks other routes, meaning the puzzle must be completed in a specific sequence. The two eventually reach the rooftops, where overgrown cherry tree branches act as a makeshift bridge, allowing them to access new areas. Here they encounter a mysterious man, the same one we saw earlier watching from the rooftops after our fight with Denamon. A fight breaks out between him and Soki. However, after exchanging attacks, the man suddenly lowers his swords, admitting that he's never been much for fighting. Before Soki can respond, Jubei leaps onto the scene shouting "Found you!" as she launches an attack. At this moment, we learn the mystery man's identity. This is Munenori Yagyu, Jubei's uncle. Jubei immediately confronts him, calling him out. She tells Soki, whom she calls Blue, to go ahead and torch the cherry trees, while she stays behind to face Munenori. Inside the fortress, Soki enters a large chamber filled with cherry trees. As he steps forward, a gun is suddenly aimed at him. This is where we meet Ohatsu. She reveals that she had been tracking the rumors of a blue demon destroying Lord Hideyoshi's cherry trees. She explains that once these rumors reached Osaka, she knew it had to be Soki. Ohatsu attempts to reason with him, saying, "If you come back now, I'm sure Lord Hideyoshi will forgive you." However, Soki refuses, stating Hideyoshi is not the man he once was, and that he will meet his blade. During this exchange, we finally learn more about the trees that have been a reoccurring mystery. Soki unwraps the bindings on one of the trees, revealing that it is infested with Genma energy. Realizing the truth, Ohatsu raises her gun and calls Soki by his real name, Hideyasu Yuki. However, Soki immediately rejects it, declaring, "I no longer go by that name." This leads to a boss fight against Ohatsu. After a heated battle, Soki defeats her, but rather than finishing her off, he makes a surprising decision. He says, "There's something I can only know for sure if I go after him." Ohatsu, still recovering from the fight, claims peace is finally restored in the nation. However, Soki disagrees, stating, "Even the wars were better than this. The people are suffering." At this moment, Soki extends his hand, asking Ohatsu to come with him. Before she can respond, Munenori suddenly enters the room. Soki immediately demands, "What did you do with Jubei?" Munenori smirks and cryptically replies, "Go find out for yourself. She doesn't have much time left." As Soki rushes off, Munenori delivers one last ominous statement. "I'll be preparing for one hell of a blossoming festival." His words leave an uneasy feeling, hinting at dark events yet to come. Soki rushes across the rooftops, searching for Jubei. As he makes his way down, he spots her, tied to a post with explosives above her head, the fuse already burning. Just as the explosives are about to detonate, Soki cuts the fuse and unties her, saving her just in time. Relieved, he embraces her, happy to see she's still alive. Jubei asks, "Did you torch the trees?" When Soki tells her he didn't, she calls him a fool, saying the trip was a waste of time. Frustrated, she demands to know why he saved her. Soki responds, "It just wasn't your time yet." With their mission in ruins, Soki decides they will go to Kyoto, where Jubei can kill Munenori, and Soki will kill Hideyoshi. Back at the hideout, Minokichi tells Soki that if they can reach Fushimi Castle, they will be able to find Hideyoshi. As they prepare to leave for Kyoto, a strange man enters the hideout. A tall, blonde man dressed entirely in white. He observes Soki, commenting, "Such a dark soul, such power. I must admit, I am interested indeed." Soki immediately demands to know who he is and how he got in, but the man vanishes before he can get an answer. Soki turns to Jubei and Minokichi, asking if they saw him, but they say they didn't see anyone, making the encounter even more mysterious. We enter Stage 5, the Red Demon. As Soki and Jubei travel, they learn that Mitsunari Ishida, a trusted right-hand man of Hideyoshi, is waiting in Sawayama. A strange dark essence hangs over the town. Upon entering, they are immediately surrounded by Genma, forcing them to fight through a long walled street, where red and blue barriers block the doors along the path. At the end of the road, they find a red pearl, which corresponds to one of the locked doors. To progress, they must fight through multiple rooms collecting red and blue pearls to unlock the corresponding doors. Once all 6 pearls are obtained, the final door opens. Jubei enters a courtyard alone, where she is confronted by a strange man. He charges forward and strikes her, and before we can see what happens, the scene cuts to Soki. Now in the same courtyard, Soki finds himself unable to see Jubei, but he sees the same man. The man speaks cryptically. "You are just like the girl. You both possess the spirit of the Oni." He then mutters to himself, "The Black Power. He is the one." This triggers a boss battle against the mysterious warrior. Upon defeating him, Soki's attack slashes the man's mask in half, revealing his face. He looks familiar. As they exit back into the main street, a large bug-like Genma suddenly appears. Since our characters are still not very strong, we have to use the same hit-and-run strategy as before. Hide and dodge when it attacks, wait for an opening, and strike when it stops moving. After a tough battle, the Genma is finally defeated. Jubei rushes back to them, and the mysterious warrior is able to identify who they are. He recognizes Jubei as part of the Yagyu clan, and he identifies Soki as the Black Oni. And now he finally introduces himself as Tenkai Nankobo. He explains that he has been traveling the land in an effort to stop Hideyoshi and the Genma, searching for the bearers of the Oni spirit. He then declares, "We finally meet, Oni warriors." Soki, confused, steps forward. "Oni?" Tenkai nods, holders of the most terrifying power, humanity's last hope. With that, Tenkai officially joins the party. Back at the hideout, Tenkai explains that they must rescue a man, a Westerner named Roberto. Mitsunari Ishida is holding him captive in Sawayama Castle. Tenkai clarifies that while Roberto is not part of the Oni clan, he will play a vital role in stopping Hideyoshi and the Genma. And in fact, Tenkai believes they don't stand a chance without him. Now that Tenkai has joined the party, we can upgrade his equipment, level up his abilities, and equip him with new items. Each new character also introduces new craftable items. Now that we have a growing party, it's a good time to explain that each character has a unique weapon type. Soki wields large broadswords, Jubei uses short swords and can dual-wield select ones. Tenkai specializes in polearms and spears. And looking at the shop, we can foreshadow future party members. A gun is available, suggesting we'll gain a ranged character, and gloves are also listed, hinting at a hand-to-hand combat specialist. As we begin Stage 6, A Child's Revenge, Tenkai warns that their progress has likely been noticed by Mitsunari. To avoid a direct confrontation, they come up with a plan. Jubei will act as a distraction, keeping the Genma occupied in the town, while Tenkai and Soki will sneak into Sawayama Castle to rescue Roberto. Before heading in, Tenkai explains that when the Genma boss appeared earlier, it left a massive hole in the ground. This hole should lead straight to the castle's dungeons, making it the perfect entry point for their mission. While Jubei holds off the Genma above, Soki and Tenkai venture into the underground caves, beginning their rescue operation. Once inside, they quickly encounter a new type of enemy, one that can poison them. This emphasizes the importance of always stocking up on antidotes before leaving the hideout. As they explore deeper, they come across another environmental puzzle. One character must stand on a pressure plate, which raises pillars in the room. This allows the other character to access higher areas, making teamwork essential to progress. Throughout the caves, corpses are scattered around, with small spirits floating above them. Here we learn something unique about Tenkai. He has the ability to communicate with these spirits. There is something familiar about Tenkai. Who exactly is he? Soki and Tenkai eventually reach a chamber deep within the dungeon, where they find Roberto. However, the situation quickly becomes tense. Roberto speaks only in Spanish, making it difficult for Soki to communicate with him. Roberto suddenly breaks free of his chains, revealing his incredible strength. As he begins to walk away, Soki tries to stop him, but Roberto declares his intent to kill Frois. Tenkai translates for Soki, attempting to ease tensions. Soki urges Roberto to at least work together, but Roberto swings at him in response. Soki hesitates, stating that he won't fight an unarmed man, but Roberto scoffs, saying, "I don't play with toys." At this moment, we are introduced to Roberto as the hand-to-hand fighter, something that was foreshadowed earlier by the gloves in the shop. As with previous companions, we must first fight him before he can officially join the team. Once the battle concludes, the three men are suddenly swarmed by Genma. Roberto listens for a moment, then smirks and says, "That sound. Someone annoying is on the way." Then he declares that he's going after Senor Frois, leaving Soki and Tenkai to deal with the attackers. Just as they finish the battle, a massive armored warrior enters the room. Lord Sakan Shima, the retainer of Mitsunari Ishida. This immediately triggers another boss fight. Sakan is a brutal warrior fueled by rage, but after an intense battle, Soki and Tenkai manage to defeat him. However, rather than dying, Sakan is overwhelmed by immense pain and flees, screaming in agony. As he runs, a massive gate slams down behind him, trapping Soki and Tenkai within the dungeon. Just when things seem hopeless, a voice calls out from above. Ohatsu appears, lowering a rope through a hole in the ceiling. She tells Soki that she has something important to ask him. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Lord Mitsunari Ishida, standing on a balcony. Signor Frois enters the room, and the two begin discussing their plan. Mitsunari asks if the preparations for Daigo Temple are complete. Frois confirms, stating that all they need now are more Genma trees. Mitsunari assures him that the required trees have already been gathered. The ones destroyed by the Oni are of no concern. They also acknowledge that the Oni warriors have already arrived, with Frois ominously stating, "Ah yes, the Black Oni's second coming." Mitsunari asks about Ophelia, and Frois confirms that she is still keeping watch over Hideyoshi. The two men then discuss the Omen Star, which is growing brighter as more Genma trees are collected. Back in the courtyard, Ohatsu confronts Soki about Lord Hideyoshi's actions. She asks why the cherry trees look like people and why they appear to be crying. She reveals that Mitsunari has been calling them Genma trees. Soki explains the horrifying truth. The Genma trees are actually humans, twisted into a grotesque form. These trees are used to breed Genma insects, which then can control humans, turning them into powerful soulless soldiers. Hideyoshi is gathering these trees from all over Japan in preparation for the Daigo Blossoming Festival, where the insects will be released en masse, transforming everyone in Japan into mindless drones. Ohatsu is horrified. She tells Soki that Mitsunari is still inside the castle and suggests that killing him might bring Lord Hideyoshi back to his senses. As they walk away, Ohatsu asks what will happen to Tenkai, who is still trapped in the dungeon. Soki simply replies, "Leave him, he'll be fine." With that, Ohatsu officially joins the party. Ohatsu specializes in firearms, making her perfect for large open areas where she can eliminate enemies from afar. Like Jubei, she has a unique traversal ability. She can grapple across gaps and spikes, much like Jacques from Onimusha 3. The group enters Sawayama Castle, a multi-floor fortress requiring various keys to progress. Eventually, they reach a room where they encounter Munenori Yagyu. Munenori greets Ohatsu, saying, "Nice work, Ohatsu." Soki immediately realizes it was a trap, yelling that he knew something was off. However, Ohatsu's reaction is genuine. She seems genuinely shocked that this was a trap. Munenori accuses her of thinking about betraying him, and as he steps forward, Ohatsu walks to his side. Munenori then taunts Soki. He declares that he and Ohatsu are together, sarcastically telling Soki to keep his hands off, lover boy. He smugly states, "I am one enemy you don't want to make." This triggers another boss battle, this time against Munenori. The battle takes place in a room with a special detail, a throwback to Onimusha Warlords. In one of the corners, covered in spiderwebs, lies the corpse of Hecuba, the wasp Genma boss from the first game. After an intense fight, Soki manages to defeat Munenori. Soki demands to know what Munenori did to Ohatsu, and why she is still trapped by his side. Munenori smirks and tells him, "Ask her yourself." Without another word, Munenori vanishes, leaving Soki alone in the room. Soki climbs a ladder, bringing him face to face with Mitsunari Ishida and Signor Frois. Wasting no time, Soki demands answers, asking if Mitsunari is the one controlling Hideyoshi. Mitsunari calmly denies it, stating that Hideyoshi is fully capable of making his own decisions. Suddenly, Roberto bursts into the room, ready to fight. Seeing him, Frois smirks, referring to Roberto as his escaped experiment. Before Soki and Roberto can attack, they suddenly fall through a trapdoor, dropping them to the floor below. As Mitsunari and Frois prepare to leave, Mitsunari apologizes for the interruption, stating that they must head to Daigo for the celebration. They wouldn't want to be late. As they walk away, Frois laments the loss of Roberto, stating, "What a waste. He turned out so well." Mitsunari, however, is unconcerned, saying, "Leave him. We'll come across them again in due time." The scene shifts back to the room where we previously fought Munenori. Suddenly, the corpse of Hecuba, the wasp Genma boss from Onimusha Warlords, begins to move. This triggers a boss fight. Hecuba lays eggs that roll around the room, and hatching into Genma soldiers if left alone. Roberto is now officially part of our party, assisting in the fight. After an intense battle, Hecuba is defeated once again. Regrouping at the hideout, all of our companions are present except for Ohatsu. Tenkai speaks to Roberto, explaining that their mission is to destroy Hideyoshi and the Genma. During their quest, they will surely encounter Frois again, giving Roberto a chance for revenge. Tenkai acknowledges Roberto's strength, that they need his power to succeed. This prompts Roberto to respond, "You know about my arm?" hinting at his mysterious abilities. At the hideout, we can now interact with our companions, stock up on items, and upgrade skills and equipment. After upgrading a skill to a specific level, we can unlock a new ability for our characters. For example, upgrading Tenkai's thrust ability to level 3 unlocks the Hell Jab, which turns his normal thrust into a rapid combo of continuous jabs. Now that we have Roberto, it's a good moment to go over the backtracking and replaying levels. We can replay a previous level bringing Roberto with us. Roberto has a unique traversal ability. He can push large blocks, granting access to previously unreachable areas. Backtracking to different areas is not required, but it adds depth for players who enjoy exploration. One of the areas Roberto unlocks contains a new test of valor, which turned out to be a highlight for me. This was the moment I truly realized the power of the critical chain attacks, allowing for devastating combos. Backtracking also rewards players with bonus cutscenes and interactions. For instance, in the level where we previously fought the giant bug Genma, there is now a room containing 2 humans who need to be protected. This introduces a new test of valor that wasn't present in the level before. As the group prepares to depart, Soki mentions that the Daigo Blossoming Festival is near, prompting them to head straight for Kyoto. Minokichi warns that he senses a growing evil emanating from the city. Tenkai reminds the group of their top priority, locating and destroying the Genma Mother Tree. Without doing so, they have no chance of victory. Tenkai explains that upon reaching the capital, their first destination must be Akechi's tomb, where his master lies sleeping. This location overlooks Fushimi Castle, and is infused with strong Oni power, making it a place Genma fear to approach. The scene shifts to a breathtaking moment. A masked woman dances under cherry blossoms, illuminated by the Omen star in the sky. Pink petals swirl in the wind. Suddenly, a beam of light erupts from the spot where she was dancing. The scene shifts to Hideyoshi, who catches what appears to be a cherry blossom leaf. But as he examines it, we see it's actually a Genma insect. He then declares, "Soon the world will belong to the Toyotomi clan." Entering Stage 7, Temple of Bloodshed, the group learns that Fushimi Castle is just ahead, and Hideyoshi is attending the Daigo Blossoming Festival. They set off from Akechi's tomb, each carrying a personal thirst for vengeance. Everyone splits up, meaning Soki has no companion for this segment. As Soki explores the area, he reunites with Jubei, but the two are immediately ambushed by Genma. Just in time, the rest of the group arrives, taking out the enemies. As they approach a large gate, Tenkai explains that Hideyoshi lies beyond, but before they reach him, they must destroy the Genma Mother Tree and put an end to the festival. In the next area, the heroes encounter their enemies. Roberto charges at Frois, eager for revenge. Jubei clashes with Munenori. As the battle unfolds, Tenkai yells out, reminding everyone not to forget the Genma Mother Tree. Meanwhile, Soki rushes towards Hideyoshi's location, ignoring Tenkai's warning that Hideyoshi is too powerful to fight alone. As Tenkai tries to stop Soki, Sakan enters the battle, squaring off against him. Soki arrives at the end of the festival path where Hideyoshi is waiting. Hideyoshi meets him. "It's been a long time, Hideyasu." Soki suddenly drops to his knees, responding, "For me too, my liege." Hideyoshi steps forward, revealing the truth. "I have wanted to see you again, my son." The scene then shifts back to Tenkai. This initiates a boss fight against Sakan. Upon defeating Sakan, Tenkai urges him to open his eyes, warning him not to let the Genma control him. Sakan appears to struggle against their influence, screaming in pain. Mitsunari steps forward, coldly observing. Looks like Sakan is going to need more work. As Tenkai launches an attack on Mitsunori, the scene shifts back to Soki's confrontation with Hideyoshi, where Hideyoshi is holding a child, revealing that Soki has a younger brother. We are also introduced to Yodo, the royal concubine. Ohatsu enters, as Soki asks Hideyoshi, "Do you truly find the cherry trees lovely?" Hideyoshi responds, "Of course. They are my first step toward Toyotomi clan's world domination." Hideyoshi attempts to lure Soki to his side, but Soki pleads with him. "End this invasion. Don't turn your back on your own people, or the people of other lands." Hideyoshi, unimpressed, replies, "Why should I care about the rabble that inhabits this world?" Through their heated exchange, it is revealed that Hideyoshi is not Soki's real father. Soki declares that Hideyoshi has become a monster, consumed by power. In a fit of rage, he attacks Hideyoshi, despite Ohatsu begging him to stop. Hideyoshi effortlessly dodges Soki's attack. Soki demands to know how many have died for Hideyoshi's blind ambition. Soki tells Hideyoshi that he ended the era of warfare, but states that the suffering is now worse than ever before. Hideyoshi challenges Soki, "Show me the black power, Oni." Suddenly, all the humans watching the event transform into Genma. Soki transforms into his Onimusha form, ready to battle. Impressed by Soki's power, Hideyoshi acknowledges him as a true threat and prepares to fight him personally. This begins the boss fight with Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi floats around the arena, surrounded by orbs of energy that deal damage on impact. As the fight progresses, he enters a second phase, glowing brightly and increasing the number of energy balls floating around. He also hurls energy blasts and links the floating orbs with beams, further restricting Soki's movement. Upon defeating him, Hideyoshi rises once again. He acknowledges that the Black Oni power is formidable, but even that isn't enough. He then unleashes a devastating energy blast, overpowering Soki. Declaring himself a god, Hideyoshi asserts that it is only right for a god to rule over humanity. He offers Soki a choice: join him and live, or resist and die. Soki, unwavering, replies, "I walk my own path. My destiny is mine alone." Hideyoshi scoffs, declaring, "By my grace, all life is decided. If I say fight, you will fight. If I say die, you will die." Soki counters with a powerful statement. "Humans are free, where we live or die. That is for each of us to decide." Hideyoshi calls him a fool, preparing to strike. As Hideyoshi prepares a massive energy blast, Ohatsu rushes to Soki's side. Hideyoshi coldly declares that her fate is sealed as well. He launches the attack, but at the last moment, Soki shields Ohatsu, taking the full brunt of the blast. Just then, Tenkai arrives, yelling, "Rise above humanity, rise above the Oni, become the Onimusha, destroyer of all evil." He tells Soki, "You are humanity's last hope." Tenkai sacrifices himself, stepping in to absorb the attack. However, the light engulfs them all. The scene shifts to our enemies standing together. Mitsunari smirks, saying, well done, the distraction is over, and the festival is now at its peak." After this stage, we do not go back to our hideout. We go straight into Stage 8, Onimusha Awakened. Soki and Ohatsu barely escape Daigo Temple with their lives. They flee toward Mount Hiei, leading us into the next chapter of the journey. This forested area is actually the same location from Onimusha 3, where Jacques first arrived and met Akko. As Soki and Ohatsu continue forward, Ohatsu suddenly collapses in pain, screaming, "Genma insects!" Minokichi drops in, explaining that the insects were likely placed inside her to prevent her from betraying the Toyotomi. Despite knowing they were there, Ohatsu still chose to follow Soki. Desperate to save her, Soki asks Minokichi if anything can be done. Minokichi grimly tells him that they must strike the final blow before she fully transforms into a Genma tree. Suddenly, an unfamiliar girl emerges from a nearby building. She teleports to Ohatsu and tells Soki, if you want to save her, there is another way. She explains that Ohatsu only has about 2 hours left, and offers to take her away for now. Before disappearing with Ohatsu, she tells Soki that if he truly cares for her, he must go to the temple. Left alone with Minokichi, Soki ponders whether the girl is an enemy. Minokichi reassures him, saying he doesn't believe she is Genma, and thinks she may be an ally. Determined, Soki sets off for the temple. Upon reaching Inryaku Temple, he finds both Ohatsu and the mysterious girl waiting for him. Soki demands to know what she meant about saving Ohatsu. She explains that the key to saving her lies within Soki himself. He must awaken his true power, transform into the Onimusha, and retrieve the Oni orb hidden inside a portal before it closes. If he succeeds, he will truly become an Onimusha, and Ohatsu will be saved. Soki enters a maze-like dimension filled with multiple floors, each containing several portals. Only one portal on each floor is correct, and Soki must use a shelf with 2 candles as a guide. The blue candle marks his location, while the red candle indicates the correct portal. As he progresses, he eventually faces a powerful foe, Gargant. This enemy was previously seen in Onimusha 3, but never fought in the main game. He was featured in the intro cinematic, where Samanosuke battled him aboard the massive Genma ship before destroying its core. After defeating Gargant, Soki secures the Oni orb, but before he can escape, Marcellus then attacks him, causing the door to rapidly close. The scene shifts back to Ohatsu and the mysterious girl. She solemnly states, "He didn't make it. No one ever makes it back from the other side." Suddenly, the room begins to shake. Shocked, the girl watches as Soki bursts through the now sealed door, something that was supposed to be impossible. Amazed, she declares that Soki has risen above humanity, and even beyond the Onimusha. At this point, Soki finally gains access to the orange sword that has been on his back this entire time, the Sword of Purification. This leads directly into a boss fight against an infected Ohatsu. After depleting her health, Soki uses the Sword of Purification to cleanse her, freeing her from the Genma control. She collapses into his arms, saved. The scene then shifts to Soki speaking with a mysterious man dressed in all white, the same figure only he can see, whom he encountered once before. The man tells Soki that he has now fully awakened as an Onimusha. When Soki demands to know his identity, the man cryptically responds that it's a silly question, as they are closely connected, and their fates will soon intertwine in the grand conclusion. He addresses Soki as Black Oni, stating, "You possess power rivaling the God of Darkness. We shall meet soon." Then he vanishes. Back in the present, the mysterious girl finally introduces herself as Aaron. Soki asks if she saw the man, wondering if he could be a Genma. Aaron dismisses the idea, explaining that the area is saturated with Oni magic. Genma could not come within a mile of it. At this point, Soki can now freely transform into his Onimusha form, unlocking his full potential. While his companions cannot transform, they each have their own unique abilities to aid him in battle. Now with Ohatsu and Aaron by his side, Soki finds himself in a new hideout, preparing for the next stage of their journey. As Stage 9 begins, Aaron enters the hideout and tells Soki that he has received an aerogram, a message attached to an arrow and shot over long distances. The letter is from Munenori, who explains that he tried to come to Soki in person, but the Oni magic surrounding the hideout prevented him from getting close. Not wanting his message to go undelivered, he resorted to an extreme measure. He shot 500 of these letters towards Soki's location to ensure at least one reached him. In the letter, Munenori urges Soki to come to Azuchi Castle, revealing that he has Jubei captive. He warns that if Soki doesn't come soon, something terrible may happen to her. Without hesitation, Soki and his allies set off to Azuchi Castle. To reach the castle, the group must navigate a mountain pass, which serves as the first section of the level. This area is ideal for Ohatsu, as its open spaces allow her to fully utilize her ranged attacks, giving her an advantage over enemies. Upon entering the castle, the group is immediately confronted by a red barrier, blocking their path. Nearby, they spot a shelled device mounted on the wall. A pressure plate on the floor triggers the shell to open, revealing the device inside. Ohatsu must destroy the device to dispel the barrier, allowing the team to advance. These devices are scattered throughout the level, forcing players to switch between Soki and Ohatsu to progress. After battling their way through the castle, the group reaches the upper levels, where they finally come face to face with Munenori. They stand on the roof of Azuchi Castle, and Jubei is bound by ropes. Surprised to see Soki, Jubei warns him, "You shouldn't have come." Soki dismisses her concern, replying, "Of course I came." Munenori cuts their conversation short. When he notices Ohatsu, he is shocked that she is still alive, as he expected her to have succumbed to the Genma insects. He is equally surprised to learn that the insects could even be removed at all. However, his shock quickly turns to indifference, as he coldly states that it doesn't matter. He was growing tired of her anyway. A boss fight against Munenori begins. Upon depleting Munenori's health halfway, a cutscene triggers. Soki demands that Munenori give up, telling him that he has nothing left to throw at him. Munenori scoffs at this, calling Soki a fool. "Oh, but I do," he taunts. He then removes his eye patch, revealing a demon eye just like Jubei. With this newfound power, the boss fight resumes. Munenori becomes even more dangerous. As the battle reaches its climax, Soki turns to Jubei and tells her, "You can be the one to finish him." However, before she can land the final blow, Munenori escapes, leaving them empty-handed. Back at the hideout, Jubei officially rejoins the group, and with her, the team gains access to her Demon Eye ability. She can activate it in the same way that Soki transforms into the Onimusha, giving her a powerful new edge in battle. As Stage 10 begins, Minokichi brings urgent news to Soki. Roberto has been taken to the Western Hospital in Osaka. Meanwhile, Eren and Jubei have a conversation, revealing some personal details. Jubei has a crush on Soki, and is jealous of his closeness with Ohatsu, while Eren admits to having feelings for Tenkai. Setting out for Sanaspana Hospital, the group learns that Senor Frois is preparing to conduct vile experiments on Roberto's body. Frois has become obsessed with the immense power contained within Roberto's arms, and is determined to uncover its source, no matter the cost. Upon entering the hospital, they quickly locate Roberto, arriving just in time to save him. This leads directly into a boss fight against Luis Frois. The battle takes place in a two-floor arena. Soki fights on the lower floor, while his companion battles from above. Frois teleports between floors, turns invisible, and uses magic to levitate scalpels, hurling them as deadly projectiles. Upon defeating Frois, it is revealed that he had a trap set all along. The group becomes surrounded by Genma. However, something unexpected happens. Frois undergoes a sudden transformation. As his appearance shifts, so does his personality. The once menacing Frois is gone, replaced by someone different. Now a seemingly good version of himself, Frois pleads with Soki, "Take Roberto, and get him out of here. I can only control the Genma Rosenkrantz for so long." Understanding the urgency, the team escapes with Roberto, before things take a turn for the worse. Back at the hideout, Roberto has been unconscious for 10 days, leaving some members of the group deeply concerned. Eren explains that his body was in shambles after being experimented on. The fact that he is even alive is nothing short of miraculous. During this time, the group also learned something surprising. Roberto can speak Japanese, but he had been hiding it from them all along. Roberto announces his intention to return to Sawayama Castle, stating that he left something important behind when he was imprisoned there. Though he tries to go alone, the group refuses to let him, demonstrating how their bond of friendship has grown stronger. The team journeys back to the dungeon beneath the castle, where Roberto was once held captive. However, the dark essence in the area has grown even stronger since their last visit. Leading the way, Roberto reveals a shortcut, allowing them to navigate the castle more efficiently. This stage provides an excellent showcase of the need to switch between multiple characters to progress. Roberto can push heavy blocks to clear paths. Ohatsu plants explosives to blow open a locked door, and later in the castle, Roberto smashes through heavy metal doors, making use of his immense strength. Inside the castle, Roberto finally finds what he was searching for, a pendant. Though its significance isn't immediately explained, it's clearly of great personal value to him. As they descend back into the dungeon, they encounter a large beast, forcing them into a tough battle. After defeating it, the group returns to the streets where they first met Tenkai. However, they are not alone. The same large bug-like Genma they fought before returns for another battle. Upon defeating it once again, the group successfully returns to the hideout. Back at the hideout, Eren acknowledges that while Soki has reawakened the Onimusha within him, she fears it still won't be enough to stop Hideyoshi. Ohatsu argues that beneath it all, Hideyoshi is still just a man, meaning there must be something supplying him with such immense power. Roberto suggests heading to Sakai in Osaka, where the Toyokuni research facility is located. He explains that this is where Genma research is being conducted under Mitsunari and Frois. Minokichi believes this facility may hold the key to uncovering Hideyoshi's true source of power. Roberto then reveals an important detail. The pendant they recovered is actually a key to the research facility. He shares that Frois, the good version of Frois, raised him, and when he was young, the facility powered their home. There are 2 such facilities, one in Osaka and one in Kyushu. With this information, the team sets off to the Toyokuni research facility, beginning Stage 12, Mitsunari's Pride. Using the pendant key, they enter the facility and reach the control room. There, they find a screen displaying a set of ominous orders. Free the Darkstone, gather the Genma trees, neutralize the exorcising beads, revive the Triumvirate, Claudius, Rosencrantz, and Ophelia. Control Hideyoshi. Appearance of the Omen Star. Revive the God of Light. Expel the humans. From this, they learn that the Dark Stone, located underground, is the true source of Hideyoshi's power. Roberto explains that there is a passage leading down to it. This level consists of a large circular room spanning 2 floors. Progression is somewhat tedious due to the gap between doors and the need to move a lift around the room. However, the controls to move the lift are only available at specific points on both the upper and lower floors. The objective here is to navigate through interconnected rooms and to destroy machines transporting Genma Dark Essence, as they are helping to fuel Hideyoshi's power. I did not enjoy this level at all. I found the lift mechanics very tedious and frustrating. After destroying all the machines transferring the Genma Dark Essence, the group gains access to an elevator in the control room. This leads them to a room filled with growing Genma trees. At the end of the facility, they finally find the Dark Stone, the very source of Hideyoshi's immense power. Roberto explains that Hideyoshi is absorbing essence from the stone, and the entire room is designed to channel power directly to him. They attempt to attack the stone, but an invisible barrier protects it. Suddenly, Mitsunari steps into the room, warning them to leave the stone alone. Roberto, realizing that the power within his arms is the only thing that can destroy the stone, begins rapidly punching it. Mitsunari chuckles and reveals that the exorcising beads are inside Roberto. He then hurls a blade at Roberto in an attempt to stop him. But Soki steps in and deflects the attack, leading to a boss battle against Mitsunari. Before the fight, Roberto warns Soki to be careful, explaining that Mitsunari has the power of Claudius, a member of the Triumvirate, a group of elite Genma that oversee all others, dropping orbs of dark energy onto the ground. These orbs remain in place, forcing Soki to dodge them upon impact and then navigate around them during the fight. After a period of time, Mitsunari launches all the orbs at Soki at once. These orbs are also poisonous, requiring an antidote if Soki gets hit. Mitsunari also has a melee attack, where a large centipede emerges from his arm, allowing him to attack at range. Upon defeating Mitsunari, he scoffs, admitting, "I suppose I was at a disadvantage with this body." At that moment, Roberto delivers a final powerful punch to the Dark Stone, causing it to explode. Exhausted, he drops to his knees, having spent much of his strength. However, Mitsunari remains unfazed, explaining that this particular Darkstone was nearly used up anyway, and that this small victory means nothing in the grand scheme of their plan. He reveals that once the Genma trees fully blossom, their god will descend from the star. Humanity will cease to exist, and a new world ruled by the Genma will begin. Their true purpose is to revive the God of Light. So little time remains until the descent of the light, he warns before vanishing. They regroup at the hideout, where Roberto pieces together the information they gathered. The Triumvirate, Claudius, Rosencrantz, and Ophelia are behind everything. Their ultimate goal is to bring back their God of Light, and replace the world of humans with a world of Genma. Hideyoshi is merely a vessel. His power is just a side effect of being the host for the light's descent. Roberto confirms that Claudius resides within Mitsunari, and Rosencrantz is possessing Signor Frois. Ophelia's host is still unknown, but Roberto believes she is somewhere near Hideyoshi. They also learn that the Dark Stones absorb essence from the Genma trees and the Mother Tree. In theory, if they destroy all the Dark Stones and defeat Hideyoshi, they can stop the descent of the light. There is another Dark Stone located in the Kyushu research facility. As the group prepares to leave the hideout, Roberto states that if they can destroy the Dark Stone in Shimabara, there may still be hope left. Ohatsu raises a concern. How will they get there if all the ships were destroyed during the Genma invasion? Roberto explains that one ship remains intact and unused, the San Felipe. With their next objective clear, they make their way to the port in Sakai, and upon reaching an area near the port, they face an interesting puzzle that requires them to find the combination to a lock. There are 6 warehouses scattered around the area. 3 of them contain paintings of animals, each depicting a different number of creatures. To solve the puzzle, they must arrange the paintings from the largest to the smallest number of animals. The numbers from these paintings form the code to the lock. This code is randomized per playthrough, In this instance, the code is 432. They then encounter a similar second but more complex puzzle. 6 warehouses, each numbered 1 through 6, contain various paintings. Each painting has a hidden number. The solution involves matching each warehouse number to its corresponding painting's number. Then the warehouse numbers must be reordered from smallest to largest based on the numbers hidden in the paintings. Finally, using this new order, they must take the first 3 warehouse numbers to form the final code. Again, this code is also randomized per playthrough. For this instance, the code is 526. With both puzzles solved, they make their way to the ship. As they prepare to board the San Felipe, Soki suddenly senses a powerful presence nearby. The group secures the ship while Soki stays behind to investigate. Here, he once again encounters Sakan, triggering a boss battle. Upon defeating Sakan, the ship begins to set sail, but Genma swarms Soki, attempting to overwhelm him. In a dramatic moment, Soki charges towards the ship, dodging and weaving through the attacking Genma before leaping aboard. His friends catch him and pull him up onto the deck. Just as they think they've escaped, Sakan boards the ship, attempting to damage it beyond repair. Before Sakan can strike, Tenkai suddenly appears, reuniting with the group after being missing since their confrontation with Hideyoshi. Tenkai tells Soki, "Show me the power of the Onimusha." Soki and Tenkai rush into battle against Sakan. They quickly defeat him, sending him falling overboard. The group then turns to Tenkai, overjoyed to see him alive. As the San Felipe sails off into the distance, the scene cuts to Mitsunari and Frois, who stand on the docks observing the group's escape. Frois tells Mitsunari it seems they know about Shimabara. Mitsunari, unfazed, replies, "It's all a part of the plan." His plan. He then asks Frois if he's heard from Ophelia. Frois confirms that she has already made preparations at Hizen. At this moment, Mitsunari refers to Frois by his possessor's true name, Rosencrantz. We must hurry to Shimabara and prepare for our friends. Mitsunari walks off, while Frois teleports away. As they depart, the mysterious man dressed in all white, whom only Soki has been able to see, steps forward onto the dock, gazing out at the ship disappearing into the distance. While on San Felipe, the mysterious man dressed in white once again appears before Soki. He tells Soki, "Do not underestimate your power." He then states that he and Soki are polar opposites before vanishing, leaving Soki alone with Tenkai. Confused, Soki turns to Tenkai and asks, "Did you see that man?" Tenkai responds, faintly, "But be careful. There is something unsettling about his presence." As they approach their destination, Tenkai informs the group, "We are fast approaching Beppu Bay in Kyushu." As we begin Stage 14, Yodo's arrival, the group continues their journey to the Toyokuni research facility in Shimabara. But to reach it, they must pass through an abandoned town, eerily silent and devoid of life. To move forward, they must travel over a hill through the town, fending off Genma along the way. Eventually, they encounter Yodo, the woman they last saw during their confrontation with Hideyoshi. Upon seeing her, Ohatsu appears distressed, exclaiming, "Oh no, not you too." Tenkai, sensing something unnatural, warns the group. "I can feel the aura of death around her," and then he insinuates that she is being controlled by the Genma. However, Yodo denies being under anyone's control, declaring, "I am the royal concubine. No one controls me." As the group prepares for battle, Yodo turns to Ohatsu and speaks in a sorrowful tone. "You're not going to let them kill me, are you? Your own sister? I thought you loved me." Shocked and overwhelmed, Ohatsu begs them not to kill her, but Soki steps forward saying firmly, "This is not Yodo." Tenkai adds, "This is just a spirit possessing the dead." Lowering their weapons, the group hesitates. At that moment, Yodo smirks and mocks them. "Your stupidity knows no bounds." This begins the boss fight. Yodo immediately summons hordes of zombies to aid her. Initially, she goes down in a single strike, but this is just a trick. The real fight is only beginning. Ophelia, the true entity controlling Yodo, reveals her power. She can take control of the party members, forcing them to turn against Soki. She summons additional Genma to fight alongside her, and she has dark energy orbs floating around the arena. If Soki touches them, he is poisoned, requiring an antidote to cure it. As the fight ends, Ohatsu collapses to her knees, sobbing. Soki approaches and tries to comfort her, saying, "I am sure she is fine," meaning the real Yodo, her sister. But Ohatsu remains devastated. They then regroup at a hideout just outside the research facility. Tenkai warns that he can sense a powerful evil gathering inside, and the enemy is prepared for their arrival. The group enters the Toyokuni research facility in Shimabara, which is identical to the previous facility, featuring a large circular room with a movable lift that grants access to the upper levels. As they progress, they destroy the machines, transferring the Genma Dark Essence to the Darkstone, weakening Hideyoshi's power. Upon reaching the chamber where the Darkstone should be, they find it missing. As they investigate, Frois enters the room, announcing, "The time has come, the star is arriving, and our plans are nearly complete. Soon, the Oni's time will come as well." Moments later, Mitsunari walks in, laughing. "Wonderful, the power is overflowing." The group demands to know where the Dark Stone is. Mitsunari points above them, far out of reach. Suddenly, the floor begins to ascend rapidly, triggering a boss battle with Mitsunari, identical to the one from the previous facility. Upon defeating Mitsunari, the lift reaches the top of the facility. Mitsunari, unfazed, tells Soki, "Your power has grown, but it is still nothing. The dark essence below knows no bounds. As long as the Dark Stone stands, so do I." The Dark Stone is now fully visible, and Roberto charges towards it, but Mitsunari smirks and warns him, "Do you really think you'll get away with that again?" Suddenly, black tendrils emerge, grabbing each member of the group. Mitsunari declares, "With the stone intact, I am invincible." At that moment, a surprise intervention occurs. Sakan appears, leaping onto the platform and stabbing Mitsunari in the chest with his spear. "Foul spirit, leave my master's body." A dark essence emerges from Mitsunari, releasing the group from the tendrils. Now, the true form of Claudius is revealed, a massive centipede-like beast. This triggers the boss fight with Claudius. As the fight begins, Roberto rushes to attack the Dark Stone. Claudius flies around the arena, dropping pools of poison. Soki can absorb the poison to clear it, or avoid it to prevent getting poisoned. Claudius dives in and out of the floor using portals. He also has a weak spot on his tail, which he occasionally raises through the ground, a prime opportunity for Soki to strike. After an intense battle, the group defeats Claudius, and Roberto destroys the Dark Stone. Soki, standing victorious, shouts, "Claudius, you have failed." Claudius, weakened, warns them, "There are only 7 days until the star arrives. You may have won a small victory, but how will you reach Hideyoshi in time?" With that, Claudius collapses and falls off the platform. Suddenly, the real Frois appears, looking at Roberto. "You have done well, Roberto." The scene shifts to the group walking away from the facility. Tenkai states, "The 2 Dark Stones are no more. Hideyoshi's power supply has been cut off." Soki, realizing their urgency, declares, "We only have 7 days to return to Kyoto and stop Hideyoshi." However, the group begins to lose hope, knowing Kyoto is too far away. Then Sakan steps forward and says, "There is a way." He explains that Nagoya Castle in Hizen houses a transportation device hidden in its keep, a relic of Hideyoshi's power. It's only a 4-day journey to the castle. As the group sets out for Nagoya Castle, Minokichi approaches Soki, saying he has a gift for him, a piece of thread that belonged to his late father. He tells Soki that with this, he will be able to travel great distances without assistance. Soki, understanding its sentimental value, tries to return it, saying it is Minokichi's last memory of his father. However, Minokichi insists he keeps it. At this point, only 2 days remain until the descent of the Omen Star, meaning 5 days have passed since the battle with Claudius. The group arrives at the castle, searching for the transportation device. Meanwhile, Ophelia and Munenori are already aware of their presence and have set a trap in the keep. With only 32 hours remaining until the Omen Star descends, they press forward. Inside the castle, they come across a nostalgic throwback to Onimusha Warlords, a statue of Osric. I really like how they've added so many callbacks throughout the games for longtime fans. It's just a really cool extra touch. As they reach the upper levels of the castle, they encounter Munenori. Jubei, filled with anger, steps forward. She tells Munenori that she has something important to tell him about her grandfather and their demon eye, but Munenori refuses to listen. "I have no interest in hearing about the man who killed my mother." Jubei insists that she was sworn to secrecy, but now she must tell him the truth. Munenori, however, reveals his own horrifying truth, that her grandfather had ripped out his eye and replaced it with his mother's eye. He then says a man who would rip out his own wife's eye is beneath even the Genma. Jubei yells, "That's not true. You lost your eye in an accident. Your mother gave her eye to save your life." Munenori mocks her, pretending to cry before laughing. Who cares about such trivial things? Jubei, enraged, declares death is the only way you'll learn. This begins the boss fight with Munenori. This boss fight is fairly simple. Munenori moves quickly, blocking attacks and sending crows at Jubei. If knocked down, he will throw sand in Jubei's eye, temporarily stunning her. And upon his defeat, Munenori writhes in pain, laughing. "It hurts. So much blood." Soki suddenly shouts, "The Genma insects!" Munenori runs up the stairs, where the group sees Ophelia holding Ohatsu captive. She tells them, "I can't allow you to kill my companion, or ruin the ultimate plan." She then reveals that only 1 day remains until the light descends. Standing beside Munenori, she teleports away with Ohatsu, inside the very device the group was searching for. The group rushes to the transportation device, but Ophelia destroys the other end of the portal, severing their escape route. Looking out the window, Soki sees the Omen Star beginning its final descent. At that moment, Minokichi suddenly appears, revealing there is another way. The tomb of Lord Mitsuhide Akechi in Kyoto. He explains, "With the device and the power granted to me, I can send you all there." Soki, sensing something is wrong, asks, "Where did you learn this?" Minokichi reveals that when they visited the tomb before, Lord Mitsuhide spoke to him, bestowing him with this ability for this very moment. Soki, concerned, asks, "What will happen to you?" Minokichi avoids the question, only saying, "There is no time." A bright light begins to surround the group, as Minokichi starts to glow. With his final words, he says, "Goodbye, everyone. Master Soki, don't let this world down." The rope he hangs from snaps and he falls to the ground, whispering, "Father, with this, I have finally become a warrior. Haven't I?"
I have finally become a warrior, haven't I?
The scene shifts to Mitsuhide Akechi's tomb. The group materializes there, but Jubei immediately screams for Minokichi. Everyone is devastated by his sacrifice. They look up at the sky. The Omen Star looms larger than ever. Only 6 hours remain. Back at the hideout, Soki hesitates before asking about Minokichi, but 10K cuts him off. He's gone. Overcome with grief, Jubei runs off, trying to get back to Hisan, hoping to retrieve Minokichi. Tenkai stops her, and Soki steps forward. We would only be wasting the time that he sacrificed himself for to give us. Resolving himself, Soki declares, "We must hurry to Fushimi Castle and destroy Hideyoshi. This is what Minokichi wanted." As the group prepares for the final battle, Tenkai mutters something intriguing. "We've lost another companion. How many of those we care about must die in this war?" And then he quietly says the name. Kaede. This section of Onimusha Dawn of Dreams is one of the most emotionally charged in the entire game. Munenori's reveal adds depth to his character, showing his tragic past and how his hatred consumed him. Minokichi's sacrifice is heartbreaking. He has always been the comic relief, but in the end he proves himself as a true warrior. Tenkai's mention of Kaede is an excellent callback to the original Onimusha, showing that even after all these years, he still mourns the losses of the past. This is also our first proof that this is actually Seminosuke. Like Onimusha 1 and 2, Dawn of Dreams features a Dark Realm, a linear gauntlet of progressively harder floors. This optional challenge is accessible throughout the game via Minokichi. I've chosen to cover it now because attempting it at lower levels is nearly impossible. The Dark Realm in Dawn of Dreams is significantly more difficult than in previous titles. One of the biggest changes is that unlike previous games where it was a single set of floors, Dawn of Dreams gives each character their own Dark Realm. Each character has 100 floors, meaning there are 500 floors in total. This makes it a huge undertaking, especially since each floor increases in difficulty. At this point in my playthrough, I had Soki leveled up to 80, and I still found it extremely challenging. Like in previous games, each character receives powerful rewards for progressing. Upon completing floor 50, you will unlock that character's second most powerful weapon, and upon completing the 100th floor, you will unlock their strongest weapon. The difficulty curve is intense. Floors 1 through 50 are challenging but manageable. Beyond floor 50, the difficulty becomes mind-numbing. I personally did not reach floor 100 with any character. It's pretty tough. If you plan to take on the Dark Realm, I highly recommend grinding XP and getting each character to level 100 before attempting to clear all 100 floors. This challenge is one of the toughest in the entire Onimusha series, but the reward makes it worth the effort, if you can survive. As the group leaves the hideout, Tenkai warns that the final battle is about to begin. There will be no turning back. This is the last chance to explore previous areas or complete the Dark Realm before starting the final mission. As we begin stage 17, Twisted Kyoto, the group still grieving Minokichi's loss arrives in Kyoto. The once familiar town has been completely transformed, further corrupted by the spreading influence of the Genma. Only 6 hours remain before the Omen Star descends. Venturing deeper into the town, they reach an area filled with cherry trees, their leaves blowing in the wind. Suddenly, Freud appears. Without a word, he transforms into his true form, Rosencrantz, a giant fly. Tenkai believes he has been revived by the dark essence of the Omen Star. As Rosencrantz charges towards them, Roberto steps forward and delivers a powerful punch, sending him flying over a nearby wall. Roberto calls him pathetic and decides to take him on alone, separating from the group. Continuing forward, the group encounters Claudius, also revived by the Omen Star. Tenkai stays behind to face him, stating that Claudius has been a thorn in his side for too long. The others press on, moving further up the path. Jubei then stops, recalling something she must do. Soki encourages her to finish what she left her village for. She tells Soki that he is the one chosen to save humanity, and he makes her promise to catch up later. As she watches them leave, Jubei mutters, "Now it's time to finish this once and for all." Sensing Munenori nearby, she stays behind to face him. As Soki and Ohatsu advance, Ophelia suddenly ambushes them. Ohatsu steps forward, saying she will handle Ophelia alone and urges Soki to keep moving. She tells him that he is humanity's last hope, and that it is their destiny to be together. Soki pushes forward, now completely alone. Soki reaches the mother tree. Climbing its long, twisted branches, a voiceover begins. One has fallen, without realizing his final hope. One has fallen, clinging to his faith. One has fallen, leaving the fate of the future to his companions. History is riddled with waves of destruction and rebirth. These waves roll onward, far into the future. Much has been destroyed. Many have perished. As Soki climbs higher, the game transitions to a series of back-to-back boss fights. Up first, we have Roberto and Rosencrantz. In this boss battle, Rosencrantz flies around the arena, dropping pools of poison and summoning Genma soldiers. Occasionally, he will land, giving Roberto the chance to strike. Upon defeating Rosencrantz, we now transition to Tenkai and Claudius. Claudius, using similar tactics to the previous boss fight with him, he flies around the arena from random directions, he drops pools of poison, and he also comes up and down through the floor, attacking Tenkai. Upon finally defeating him, we now switch over to Jubei and Munenori. Again, Munenori's attack mechanics are the same as his previous fight. He can teleport around the room, summon crows, and throw sand to stun Jubei. After defeating him, we move to Ohatsu and Ophelia. And again, Ophelia's boss fight is identical as her previous one. She can summon Genma minions, she summons orbs that float around the arena, and she attempts to poison Ohatsu. Finally, after defeating all these bosses, the game shifts back to Soki, who has reached the top of the tree and now stands before a building. Inside, he finds Hideyoshi seated on a throne. With only 30 minutes remaining until the Omen Star descends, Hideyoshi mocks Soki, calling his efforts futile. He reveals that despite the destruction of the Darkstones, his power remains unlimited, because the seed of the God of Light's rebirth is embedded in his chest. He declares that when the star arrives, he will be reborn as a god, and that Soki will be his first sacrifice. Suddenly, Hideyoshi's throne shifts, revealing that he has been seated inside an enormous mech suit. The suit closes around him as he roars, declaring himself the god of the new age. This begins the final boss fight with Hideyoshi. The battle against Hideyoshi is straightforward. He swings his sword around, kicks when approached, and must be weakened by attacking his legs until he collapses, allowing Soki to strike his head. Upon his defeat, a female figure is revealed inside the tree. Ophelia stumbles into the room. She callously kicks Hideyoshi aside, deeming him worthless and unfit to rule. Confused, Hideyoshi pleads, insisting he was promised control of the world. Ophelia dismisses him, calling him nothing more than a pawn. She rips the seed of the God of Light from his chest, proclaiming that her plans can still proceed without him. Raising the seed, she calls upon the Divine Lord. At that moment, the figure in the tree comes to life and impels Ophelia with a glowing tendril. This is the real Yodo, revealed to have been sacrificed by Hideyoshi to carry out the Genma's plan. Hideyoshi, recognizing Yodo, crawls towards her. Apologizing profusely, she whispers, "Together," pulling him into her body and absorbing him. A tendril snatches Soki, suspending him upside down. As he demands Yodo to release him, Jubei jumps in, slicing the tendril. "I told you I'd catch up, Blue," she says. As another tendril lunges at them, an explosion cuts it off. Ohatsu, Tenkai, and Roberto have arrived. Tenkai declares, "It seems the Daigo Blossoming Festival has reached its finale. Burn the Genma Mother Tree." This begins the boss fight with Yodo. Here we can select a companion for this battle. I chose Ohatsu. As the fight begins, I charged directly towards Yodo and began attacking her. However, Soki fell through the map, so I had to do this fight with just Ohatsu. Yodo has multiple different attacks. She has eye laser beams, she summons Genma minions. Occasionally, she will summon tendrils up in front of her as a barrier, forcing you to deal with the Genma minions. She will also send tendrils up through the ground to cause damage. Upon her defeat, Tenkai orders Soki to purify the tree. Soki drives his purification sword into it, unleashing a pink mist as cherry blossoms swirl through the air. The real Yodo, Cha-Cha, emerges. Ohatsu rushes to her. Nearby, Hideyoshi moans in agony. In his final moments, he reflects on how he was manipulated, his ambition twisted by the Genma. He admits that compared to Nobunaga, he was nothing. As his life fades, he asks Soki to forgive his brother, Hideyori, and to watch over him. With that, he dies. Tenkai declares it is finally over, but suddenly, a strange noise interrupts. The light shifts, and the Omen Star descends. Munenori stands atop a building, laughing as he holds a strange baby creature, the Genma seed. He declares that the world is now his. As the creature glows, a massive yellow vortex erupts above the mother tree. From it emerges a colossal snake-like being, Fortinbras. Tenkai, as we now know, is Samanosuke, once again faces the God of Light from Onimusha Warlords. Jubei panics, believing they have no chance, but Samanosuke reveals that there is a way, the Oni Gauntlet. Lord Nobunaga's soul is trapped inside of it, including his power. Soki equips the gauntlet, asking what he needs to do now. Samanosuke places his hand on it and it begins to glow. He then orders the group to transfer their power into the gauntlet. Soki now, with all of the group's power inside of the gauntlet, he slams his hand down into the tree, beginning to absorb all of the souls from the fallen Genma within the city. With the combined energy of the Black Oni and the Sealed Genma Lord, Soki undergoes a powerful transformation, his hair turning white, and finally transforming. This begins the boss battle with Fortinbras. They both fly through the sky, Soki's dual-wielding swords, slashing at Fortinbras as they battle above the city. Fortinbras hurls energy blasts, summons orbs, and can breathe fire. Eventually, Soki lands a devastating blow, sending Fortinbras crashing to the ground. Now this is the third boss fight in a row that I thought was going to end the game. However, the game is still not over. As our party begins to stand up, believing it's over, they hear a noise. and we see the mysterious man dressed in all white begin to walk down an invisible set of stairs from the Omen Star. As he makes his way down, Munenori is seen climbing back to the top of a nearby building, determined to fight once more. He glares at the mysterious figure and declares, "All that lies before me dies." Then he begins to scream, charging. However, before Munenori can act, the man in white calmly raises his hand. Munenori suddenly levitates into the air. Completely helpless, with a simple twist of his hand, the man gravely injures Munenori and sends him plummeting to the ground. At this moment, the shocking truth is revealed. The man in white is the true Fortinbras, the real god of light. Raising his hand once more, Fortinbras shakes the earth, causing large chunks of the ground to float into the air. He looks down at the group and speaks with unwavering confidence. "Do not attempt to fight me, not with your pitiful Oni power." This is where the group finally witnesses the true power of light, the power of a god. Roberto, overwhelmed by the sheer display of power, mutters, "This is far beyond us." Fortinbras smirks and declares, "It would appear your only choice is to give up everything, your victory, your future, your lives, everything." However, he claims to be feeling generous and offers them one chance to live. "Bow before me, call me by my name." He then turns directly to Soki and demands, "Black Oni, champion of the god of darkness, kneel before the white serpent." Soki slowly steps forward, staring Fortinbras in the eyes. He takes a deep breath and responds, "Fine, I'll call you by your name." Fortinbras waits in silence as Soki takes one more step forward and declares, "You are evil." The room falls silent. "You are no god. You are just a worthless sack of shit, and I will never bow." In an instant, Fortinbras hurls Soki backwards, sending him crashing into the ground. "What wonderful pride," Fortinbras muses. "Do you feel like the great Black Oni now? Or perhaps a noble samurai?" Soki slowly rises, his body battered but his will unbroken. "No," he says, "I feel like a human." Fortinbras begins to laugh mockingly. "Human? You have no gauntlet, no sword. You can barely even stand on your own 2 feet. Soki grits his teeth, and through sheer determination pushes himself up. "I can stand." Fortinbras stops laughing and glares. "You have no weapon. What do you plan to do?" Soki lifts his head and gestures to his companions. "Oh, but I do. I have the most powerful weapons of all." Fortinbras scoffs. "I won't pretend to understand your nonsense. Regardless, the time has come at last." Suddenly, massive wings sprout from his back, and he rises further into the air. The final battle begins. The actual final battle. At the start of the fight, Fortinbras hovers above the battlefield, making him difficult to reach. He summons floating spheres around the area and unleashes a devastating arsenal of attacks, including a light bullet barrage, a rapid-fire attack that can stun lock Soki, dealing massive damage. He can hurl energy orbs, slowly moving but deadly spheres of power. He can make lava erupt from the floor, making the battlefield itself a hazard. Since Fortinbras remains invulnerable while airborne, the strategy is to wait for him to land before attacking. Once he does, this is the only opportunity to strike. After a grueling battle, Soki finally pierces Fortinbras' chest with his sword. Staggering back, Fortinbras clutches the blade, embedded in his chest. He gasps in disbelief. "What is this strength?" He looks down at the weapon and mutters, "It must be the power of your sword." But Soki shakes his head. Evil could never understand. Fortinbras stares at him, confused. "The last and greatest weapon we humans have is..." Soki pauses for a moment and finishes, "Faith." Enraged, Fortinbras punches Soki. With one final push, Soki drives the sword deeper into his chest. Fortinbras glares, his strength fading. "Whether you are a Black Oni or a human, you are a fool." With those final words, Fortinbras disintegrates into nothingness. The scene shifts. Jubei awakens, still dazed from the battle. She looks over and sees Soki staring up at the Omen Star. "It's not over," he mutters. "There's still something that must be done." Realizing what he means, Jubei's eyes fill with tears. "Why does it have to be you?" Soki turns to her. "You and everyone else. You've always been by my side." Jubei shakes her head, refusing to accept it. "Why does it always have to be you?" Desperate, she tries to wake the others to stop him, but it's too late. Soki has made his choice, and he takes a step forward. He looks back at Jubei and softly asks, "Do you think the real cherry blossoms will bloom next year?" Jubei, devastated, pleads, "Don't leave Ohatsu alone like this. Don't leave me. Don't leave me alone like this. I don't want to say goodbye." Soki gives her one final look. "I have one last thing to ask you." He smiles gently. "When you see the cherry blossoms again, the real ones, every now and then, please remember me." With those final words, Soki ascends into the Omen Star. As he vanishes, the star disappears, and the Genma trees begin to wither away, restoring the world to normal. The remaining group awakens to watch the massive Genma tree fall. Jubei narrates the fate of each companion. Ohatsu, though heartbroken, eventually found peace. She married into a noble Kyoto household and dedicated her life to watching over Yodo's son, the Toyotomi heir. Roberto returned to España, vowing never to let his country repeat the mistakes of the Genma War. Tenkai, now with overwhelming evidence is really Seminosuke, is left to seal the Oni gauntlet. But Jubei begins to explain that she heard them talking once when they were alone, and he would call her by Akko. and this now confirms that Tenkai is Samanosuke and Arin is Akko. She accompanies him in his journey to seal the gauntlet. Jubei set out on another journey, following rumors that someone was still alive, hinting that that could be Munenori. She never returned to the Yagyu village, but walked forward, real cherry blossoms blooming by her side. The game then cuts to the credits. However, like the previous games, we do have a post-credit scene, where we see cherry blossoms surround a grave. As Jubei walks forward and kneels, she softly whispers, "It's my turn to protect the trees now." Suddenly, Minokichi drops for one of the branches. Jubei turns smiling. It's time to go, revealing that Minokichi did not actually die. And that brings us to the end of the main Onimusha saga. What started as a samurai's mission to rescue a princess in Onimusha Warlords quickly evolved into a legendary series. Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny introduced a new protagonist while keeping the heart of the first game intact. Onimusha 3 Demon Siege took the story beyond Japan, diving into time travel and high-stakes battle across eras. Finally, Onimusha Dawn of Dreams escalated the conflict into a cosmic war between gods, serving as the last major entry since 2006. Before wrapping up, I want to briefly touch on the spin-off titles, Onimusha Blade Warriors and Onimusha Tactics. These games aren't part of the main canon and don't add to the overall story, so I won't go in depth with them like I did the previous 4 titles. As we wrap up the main series, we move over to the 2 spin-offs. First up, Onimusha Blade Warriors. The Onimusha series is known for its cinematic storytelling, deep combat, and samurai-inspired action, blending historical fantasy with intense battles against the demonic Genma. From the first game's dark and atmospheric castle siege to the grand scale of Onimusha 3's time-traveling adventure, the franchise built a legacy of action-packed gameplay mixed with rich storytelling. But in 2003, Capcom took the series in an unexpected direction with Onimusha Blade Warriors, a side-scrolling fighting game that reimagined the series' intense combat into an arena-based brawler. Released exclusively for the PlayStation 2, the game sought to capture the spirit of Onimusha while delivering fast-paced, multiplayer-focused gameplay. At its core, Onimusha Blade Warriors takes the swordplay and supernatural abilities of the main games and blends them into a side-scrolling fighting system. Think of it as Super Smash Bros., but with samurai and demons. Battles take place in 2D multi-tiered arenas, allowing for vertical movement and stage-specific hazards. Players can use light and heavy attacks, perform combos, and dodge incoming attacks. The most important mechanic carried over from the main series is soul absorption. Defeating enemies or breaking objects releases red, blue, and yellow souls, which can be absorbed to restore health. While there is a layer of strategy, the combat itself is much more simplified compared to the main games. There are no complex weapon switching mechanics or deep combo chains, making the fights feel more straightforward and arcade-like. There is a campaign mode for each character in the roster, which adds a light RPG element to the game. Winning battles earns experience points, allowing characters to level up and unlock stronger abilities. While this adds some depth, it doesn't dramatically change the way characters play. Ultimately, the combat is fast and fun, but can become repetitive over time, especially when playing solo. And as I stated, the game features a story mode, which loosely follows a narrative, but its primary focus is on battling through multiple stages, facing off against AI opponents, and unlocking additional content, allowing players to battle against friends, which challenges players to fight through increasingly difficult battles without losing. The game features a surprisingly large roster, boasting over 20 playable characters after unlocking all the extras, including protagonists, villains, and side characters from Onimusha 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to go into much detail about the roster. While there are many characters, a lot of them have a similar playstyle. However, there are some fun Capcom Easter egg unlockable characters, such as Mega Man. The way that unlockable characters work is there is a set of objectives for certain characters. For example, to unlock Gogen Dantes, the greatest swordsman of all demons from Onimusha 2, you must clear the story mode with Samanosuke, Kaede, the normal soldier, and Maeda Keijiro. Upon completing this objective, the character does not unlock. To actually fully unlock the character, you must go into the versus mode and win. It doesn't matter how many enemies you fight, as long as you win, the unlockable character will challenge you. If you defeat the challenger, you will unlock the character. Unlike the mainline Onimusha games, which focus heavily on cinematic storytelling and character development, Blade Warriors is more of a what-if crossover experience than a direct continuation of the franchise lore. While it loosely follows a plot and story mode, and doesn't add much depth to the overarching Onimusha storyline, that said, it does retain the series' visual style, featuring dark and atmospheric backgrounds, intense music, and character designs that stay true to their main series counterparts. The inclusion of key characters and villains allow fans to experience battles that never happened in the main game, offering a fun Onimusha dream match scenario. While it doesn't contribute to the deeper lore, it does capture the Onimusha aesthetic and feel, just in a more arcade-like fashion. Onimusha Blade Warriors was released in 2003 in Japan, and 2004 in North America and Europe. At the time, Capcom was experimenting with spin-offs to expand the Onimusha brand beyond its core action-adventure roots. While the game was a unique departure, it received mixed reviews upon release. Some critics and players did praise it for the inclusion of major Onimusha characters, the fun and accessible combat system, and the multiplayer aspect, which made for an enjoyable battle with your friends. However, some common criticisms are the combat being too simplistic and lacking depth compared to other fighting games, repetitive gameplay, especially in story mode, and a lack of meaningful progression or challenge for single player. As a result, Blade Warriors never reached the same level of popularity as the main Onimusha games. While it wasn't a failure, it remains one of the more niche entries in the franchise, mainly appealing to hardcore Onimusha fans rather than a broader audience. Onimusha Blade Warriors is an interesting experiment. While it doesn't quite capture the depth, it provides a fun and acceptable way to experience Onimusha characters in a different format. For fans of the franchise, it's an enjoyable diversion, especially when played with friends. The ability to play as beloved characters like Seminosuke and Jubei in a fighting game setting is a fun novelty, even if the mechanics don't hold up to the deeper fighting games of its time. That said, if you're looking for a deep, story-driven Onimusha experience, this isn't it. But if you're a fan of the series and want to see what happens when Capcom takes Onimusha in a different direction, Blade Warriors is worth checking out. Just don't expect it to be anything more than a lighthearted side entry. Our final game to go over in this video comes from 2003. Capcom took the series in an unexpected direction with Onimusha Tactics, a turn-based strategy RPG for the Game Boy Advance. Instead of the usual hack-and-slash gameplay, Capcom experimented with a tactical approach, similar to Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics. With its grid-based battles, RPG mechanics, and soul-absorbing upgrades, Onimusha Tactics aimed to expand the franchise to handheld audiences. Tactics plays very differently from the mainline Onimusha games. Instead of controlling a single character in real-time combat, you command a squad of warriors on a grid-based battlefield, engaging in turn-based strategy combat. Each turn you move your units across the battlefield, attacking enemies, using abilities, and managing your squad's positioning. Instead of fast-paced action, battles now require strategic planning, as positioning and turn order determine victory. The battlefield is divided into square tiles, where each character can move a set number of spaces per turn. Attacks are turn-based, meaning careful positioning and planning are required to avoid enemy counterattacks. You recruit and control various warriors, each with unique abilities. Different weapon types and fighting styles offer different advantages. Characters gain experience and level up, increasing their stats over time. Like the main Onimusha series, defeating enemies releases Genma souls, which can be absorbed. These souls can be used to forge and upgrade weapons and armor, improving your squad's effectiveness in battle. Onimaru wields the Oni Gauntlet, allowing him to enter a powerful temporary state, his Onimusha form, boosting his attack power and resilience. This function is similar to the Oni Awakening mechanic from the main series. Most missions involve defeating all enemies on the battlefield, though some require protecting key characters or completing objectives. Unfortunately, mission variety is limited, making battles feel repetitive over time. While the mechanics work well, Onimusha Tactics lacks depth. Compared to other strategy RPGs of the era, there is no permadeath, like in Fire Emblem, meaning mistakes are less punishing. The strategy elements are simplified, making the game accessible, but not particularly deep. Unlike the main Onimusha games, which follow historical figures like Seminosuke Akechi and Jubei Yagyu, Onimusha Tactics introduces a new non-canon protagonist, Onimaru, a young warrior destined to battle the Genma. He wields the Oni Gauntlet, much like Seminosuke, allowing him to absorb Genma souls and unlock powerful abilities. The story follows Onimaru as he leads a group of warriors against Nobunaga Oda, who, once again, serves as the game's primary antagonist. The narrative follows familiar beats. Nobunaga is resurrected, the Genma army is spreading chaos, and Onimaru must gather allies to stop the threat. Aside from Onimaru, we see a few familiar faces from Onimusha 2. The story is straightforward, following the classic Onimusha formula of a warrior rising up against the demonic forces. However, since the game is non-canon, it doesn't connect to the main storyline. While Onimusha Tactics carries over many elements from the main series, its genre shift and non-canon status makes it feel like a side experiment rather than a true continuation. However, the shift to turn-based strategy and the lack of ties to the main story make it feel disconnected from the rest of the series. It's a different take on Onimusha, one that works in concept but doesn't fully capture the feel of the original games. Onimusha Tactics was released in Japan in 2003. And then was released in North America and Europe in 2004. At the time, Capcom was experimenting with the franchise, looking to expand its audience. With the tactical RPGs being popular on handheld systems, Onimusha Tactics seemed like a logical step. This game had some things that worked and some things that didn't work. Some positive things: the Onimusha atmosphere translated well into the tactical RPG format. The soul absorption and weapon crafting system added an extra layer of strategy, and the sprite-based graphics were well done for the Game Boy Advance. Some not so great things: the game was very simplistic compared to Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics. Repetitive missions made the gameplay feel stale, the story was generic and didn't contribute to the main Onimusha narrative. You also cannot replay levels or grind XP outside of the Demon Realm. As a result, Onimusha Tactics became one of the lesser known entries in the franchise, often overlooked in discussion about the series. Onimusha Tactics is an interesting spin-off, but it doesn't quite capture the essence of Onimusha. While it retains the Genma, Oni Gauntlet, and Nobunaga Oda, the shift to turn-based strategy and lack of story depth make it feel more like a side project than a meaningful expansion of the series. For die-hard Onimusha fans, it's worth checking out as a curiosity, but don't expect a deep or groundbreaking strategy RPG. If you're a fan of tactical RPGs, it's a fun but simplistic experience. It took me a while to get into Tactics, but I was able to look past the simplicity, and I really enjoyed it. And that wraps up my full recap of the Onimusha series. From the legendary battles against the Genma and Onimusha Warlords to the emotional journey of Onimusha 2, the time-traveling chaos of Onimusha 3, and the epic godlike showdown in Dawn of Dreams. This series from Capcom was once a massive force in gaming, but after Dawn of Dreams, the series went silent. Until 2019, the remaster of Onimusha Warlords gave fans a glimmer of hope, and let us know that Capcom didn't forget about the title. And now with Onimusha Way of the Sword on the horizon, it feels like the revival is finally here. I couldn't be more excited for what this means. Not only is Onimusha making a comeback, but it's also going to introduce a whole new generation of players to the series. Whether you're an old fan reliving the classics or a newcomer looking to experience these legendary games for the first time, now is the perfect time to jump in. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was a helpful refresher for longtime fans and a great introduction for newcomers looking to catch up before Way of the Sword. I do want to apologize for how long this video took to come out. I knew this would be a big project going into it, but it honestly turned into way more than I was expecting. That being said, I've learned a ton about editing and scripting during the process. So going forward, I'm going to change my approach to these longer videos, so there's not so much time between uploads. With this video finally done, I'll be live streaming the Onimusha games on my second channel, so if you want to hang out and relive the series together, definitely stop by, the link is in the description. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you haven't already, it really helps out. And also drop me a comment, letting me know which Onimusha game is your favorite, and if there is any specific scene or moment in the series that stands out to you the most. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And let me know if you're excited for Way of the Sword. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.